It's already past 6 o'clock. That's not like me. I mean, that is not like me. Okay. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. All righty. Are y'all ready? Oh, she went to the ladies' room. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me wait for Miss. I'm not usually late, but I don't know what happened. Yes, ma'am. I will. I've got all my notes. Thank you.
Ruben. Where's Ruben?
I'm sorry I didn't realize we were missing one of our counselors. Y'all could have finished your conversation. I apologize.
We don't have the full house we had last time.
Well, I think the holidays, people are shopping or they've got other parties or something that they need to go to. We will start in just a minute. I was waiting for Counselor Alcacer, and she's stepped out momentarily. And I apologize for the lateness this evening. Here she comes. Okay, great. All right. And then Ms. Alcacer. All right. We're ready to go. Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019. And as you can see, all councilor members are present with the exception of Councilor Charles, who is ill this evening and will not be in attendance but is excused. And we hope that she's feeling better. We do have two future leaders in our chambers this evening. From Troop 215, IEN and Ann Yupon from Troop 515. Excuse me for botching your names. I'm not really good at linguistics. But anyway, they are here. They're in sixth grade. One goes to Basis and the other one goes to Garcia Middle School. And you're working on your citizenship badge, is that correct? And so if you two gentlemen could please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if everyone could stand. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Y'all did a great job. And thank you to the father of NEN for contacting me. I'm sorry, before the council meeting to ask if they could lead us in the pledge. So we're honored to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and here's. All right, before we begin, just the usual. Points of order here that we just need to go through about silencing your cell phones, please. And I want to welcome you, but also welcome the people who are online live streaming. And I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for. And please silence your cell phones. And if you're speaking to your neighbor, although we don't have as many people here this evening, if you could step outside into the foyer and not disturb the people around you. Please be civil and respectful to one another, and outburst will not be tolerated, and it's a reason for removal from the chambers. If you do want to speak, which our local rules allow for citizen input at every agenda item, please come forward to the podium and state your name and where you live. We are recording this meeting, so we need to get a good record. So,
Mayor, while you're doing housekeeping, is now an appropriate time to ask you to remove something from the agenda?
You bet.
Okay.
Thank you.
I get my cheaters on. Mayor, Director Milland would ask that 9.3 be postponed until the December 17th meeting. if that's okay with the council.
Okay.
And also, Counselor Alcacer caught this error in the agenda. The comprehensive plan amendment needs to come before the zone change in the SUP. So that would mean that, let me just do it like you and I do it. 9 would be 1, 2, 3, and then the next one would be item 5. The next page would be item 6, and the next one would be item 4, and then 7 and 8 would remain the same. Does that make sense?
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 are the same, even though we're going to remove 3, right? We're
Yep.
under 9.
1, yeah, you'll remove 3 as it comes up,
Okay.
and then 4 becomes 5. 5,
4 becomes 5. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank
5
you.
becomes 6,
5 becomes 6,
and
and
6
becomes 4.
There you go, exactly.
Okay, there we go. Oh, thank you for catching that.
Okay.
I appreciate it. All right. Great. All right.
Thank you.
And under the presentations, do we also have a change there? Ms. Pasale, would you like to make that announcement as well?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor and Council. After doing some research, we found out that we did not have to do a swearing in of the city attorney nor the prosecutor. The prosecutor was sworn in the municipal court before his first court, and the reason we had done the swearing in with the last 2 city attorneys was because they were in-house.
Okay.
Okay, now we're with contracted, so we don't need to do that because they've already done their oath.
All right, very good. All right. So we then will move to eliminate presentations 1 and 2. We'll go to presentation 3, report on the National League of Cities Conference by Mayor Riley. And I really appreciate the honor and the privilege to just give you a report. I attended the National League of Cities, or NLC. It's the national version of the state municipal leagues, which also lobbies Congress on the city's behalf. And I was not able to attend the Texas Municipal League conference that was in October, and so I really wanted I love to go and learn and meet other people, and so I found out that the National League of Cities was here in San Antonio on November 20th to the 24th, and 4,000 city officials from all over the country attended. And I wanted to thank the citizens of Leon Valley for giving me the opportunity to attend and learn, since this conference was paid for by our tax dollars. And it wasn't a cheap conference either, so I do appreciate that. And I just wanted to briefly summarize what sessions I attended and what I gleaned from them and what benefits we receive as a city if we become a dues-paying member of NLC, which we are not. And so because of that, I had to pay more, because we were not a dues-paying member of NLC. I went to a seminar called Creating Effective and Productive City Council, and it was a 3-hour seminar, and it was presented by a gentleman who'd been an elected official, a mayor in city council for 27 years, and then a retired city manager for 30 years. And we just learned about the trials and tribulations of working together and the challenges that face city council manager relationships. We discussed attitude and getting to know your council persons. We talked about a retreat with a facilitator was recommended. Council process, what are council expectations? How do we do business? Code of conduct were listed as areas to address. To agree and disagree, but be open and honest, and always focus on what's best for the city, and keep the big picture in focus, and not on personalities. Keep a sense of humor, honor and respect each other, maintain decorum, encourage diversity and respect differences. Once the vote has been taken, support it and move forward. I did talk to Mr. Hunt and, said, we have some challenges in our city, and he recommended a podcast, which I've downloaded. I haven't heard it yet, but it's called Tear It Down. And so I'd recommend that to my colleagues. And also, he said to look up Model City Charter, which I haven't had a chance to do either. So those are the 2 things I'm going to be doing. But anyway, just again, came away with some tangibles. The next thing I went to was diversity in the census, how communities are preparing for 2020, and it was a panel discussion from leaders all over the country. And what's at stake is $1,500 per person per year for 10 years. Texas and other states lost millions of dollars due to undercounting of citizens. Discussion was held around how to count the most vulnerable in our society: low income, homeless, undocumented people, people suffering from mental illness, people who are highly mobile. Most communities and states have a CCC, which is called a Complete Count Committee, and I'm proud to say that Leon Valley was the first community in Bexar County to have a Complete Count Committee. So I'm very proud of that, and we've been working since last July. I learned that the state of Texas has not set aside any money for the 2020 census, nor established a statewide CCC. Other states such as Minnesota and Illinois have set aside upwards of $250 million to help their respective communities with the count. Leon Valley CCC has applied for 2 grants to help fund outreach efforts, and unfortunately we were not selected. I spoke with Councilwoman Leticia Villagran, and the City of San Antonio and Bexar County have combined and formed one CCC, and they've got some money and possibly could share some with the suburban cities. So I will follow up with that. A multi-pronged approach by reaching people was discussed, as well as getting students involved. And we talked about that at our committee, and they talked about ambassadors, getting high school students to serve as ambassadors to help elderly and disabled people complete the census online, either at the library or at their school computer room. The census has also created a lesson plan for K through 12 called I Count. And lastly, there are part-time jobs available at 2020census.gov beginning at $18 an hour. I think that's pretty good. So anyway, just wanted to pass that on to the citizens of Leon Valley. The next one I went to was Civic Makers, empathetic and active listening. We just had lots of group, not dialogue, but actual one-on-one on how to active listen and how to empathetically listen. And active listening is to listen to understand the full meaning, be fully present for the other person, and diagnose before you prescribe. Or as Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And empathetic listening gets inside another person's frame of reference and sees the world as they see it. Understands words and feeling. We only hear 7% of the total message. 93% of the message is tone of voice and body language. I thought that was an interesting statistics. I went to another seminars, and again, y'all, there was tons of seminars to choose from, so it was really hard to choose which one to go to, but I thought this was an important one: preparing your community for the next economic downturn, because that's what I've been reading in the paper. Are we facing a recession or not? And this was, again, a panel discussion of about 4 or 5 people from across the country. Interest rates have been lowered 3 or 4 times this year. Recession in 2020, there's a 25 to 30% that it may occur this year, and in 2021 it doubles. And this is due to the uncertainty in the federal government shutdown and the market sensitivity to tariffs and trade deals. The economic expansion has lasted 10 years, and so recession is expected. They talked about the bond market being still really good to get loans because of low interest rates. And so new money is part of the demand for infrastructure. And the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, I was just sharing with Habib, was talking about borrowing money for infrastructure because they have this huge flooding problem in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, where the high tide comes in, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and you've got 2 feet of water or foot of water in the streets, and they're trying to deal with that. So it's impossible to say if we're going to have a recession or time it, but the message I came from is that came away from is that we need to have a healthy fund balance, which we do in Leon Valley. And it's important to prioritize our debt expenditures and stay focused on long-term strategy. And there was also discussion about if it does occur, then how do you look at revenue and how to fill in the gap. And the budget director of Durham, North Carolina, said that in the last recession, she actually eliminated longevity pay to help with the revenue side during the recession. And as I recall, I think what we did was we didn't give any, I mean, that's where we got behind on our salary. We froze salaries and the city hiring back then. Interesting, the city of Philadelphia has a 4% tax rate, wage tax that they take out of employees and everybody's paycheck besides Social Security, Medicare, withholding. So I thought that was a very strange city, but anyway, they have a 4% tax. Somebody used the word Chinese. The Chinese word for crisis is composed of two characters. One is danger and one is opportunity. So we need to look at the positive because there's always an opportunity. I didn't go to this seminar, but you know how you meet people and you start talking to people? This woman came in and we were getting ready for the next seminar, and she said she had just gotten back from a cybersecurity seminar, and she learned that the Department of Homeland Security will come in and look at our system's integrity, protecting our data for free. And so I have the information for that, which I think may be helpful. I went to several, actually two. One was called Breakthrough in Sustainable Livable Communities, 2020 and Beyond. And then, this was a 4-day seminar, by the way, so that's why it's a little long. And then Climate Change Impacts on Your Community. And so, you know, I came away really feeling positive about what we've been doing. The sustainable living, we had 8 small group sessions, and you had to choose 3, I think, in 20 minutes. So it wasn't a whole lot of time, but we needed to. I attended Path to Positive Communities. It's local climate leadership. Need to develop a game plan to talk climate with the community, which we have initiated with our El Verde by 2020 and expanded to 2025. Don't dwell on the gloom and doom, but develop resiliency, the ability to predict, prepare for, and recover from climate impacts when they happen. Implement mitigation strategies, which we've been doing by planting 10,000 trees, flood insurance, renewable energy. We've got solar panels on all of our municipal buildings. The PACE program, which we just implemented, and the CPS Energy Master Workshop, which I wasn't able to attend because I was at this conference, but we're trying to look at improving our energy efficiency of our buildings, electric cars and other transportation options like buses and bicycles. The next session was on Earth Day 2020, which is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Y'all remember the first one? It was way back when. But anyway, I can't believe how fast 50 years have gone by. Anyway, they gave suggestions on what our community can do to educate on how to address the climate crisis. And the last session I went to was our local council member in District 1 in the city of San Antonio, Roberto Trevino. He's an architect by profession, and he has a program where if you change your roofs to a white roof, it will dramatically reduce the heat effect. And the city of San Antonio gives rebates if you will do that. So just thought that was an interesting. There was, like I said, many more that I couldn't go to. Henry Cisneros introduced the last seminar that I went to on climate impacts on your community, and just gave a whole slew of statistics. And I think it's 81% of the public now feels or believes or adopts that climate change or climate crisis or whatever you want to call it is real, and so we need to plan for it. And This particular seminar, though, dealt with how we can plan and prepare for a climate emergency. Well, the good news is that during Hurricane Harvey, we did that here in Leon Valley. So I felt like, we were somewhat prepared. We can always be better prepared, but we have the tools in place in order to work together with our neighbors, with our partners, Northside, police, fire, other agencies, to face a crisis of some sort. The NLC is currently accepting applications to participate in a 2020 Leadership and Community Resilience Program, and it's a $10,000 grant, and it's due, I think, on December 20th, and so I have the information that I can give to Ms. Kinsler if we're interested in applying. My husband actually attended as well. He didn't go to all of the sessions that I went to, but he went to actually 3, but the 2 that I'm reporting on is intelligence, transportation, and smart corridors. And this is about how to get around in a city with an app. And then that was a lot of focus was technology, smart cities and smart technology. The city of Bernie has developed their own app through through an outside national company, and this is communication. I didn't go to it, but he said it might be worth us looking into what Bernie's doing, because they have seen an increase in citizen participation because of this app that's just geared to the citizens of their city. You know how you have general sessions at TML? They had those general sessions as well, and one was on ARP. Did you know that November was National Caregivers Month, and we have 46 million people over the age of 65 currently, and by 2023 there'll be 73 million over the age of 65. 1 in 4 caregivers are millennials. 7 in 10 will need long-term care. And so you kind of, we were an older community, so I thought this was very important. And the way they approached it is they brought in a comedian from California, and he's taking care of his 2 parents. And so he also develops what do you call it, a script, or whatever you call his presentation when he's up in front of anyway, he doesn't make fun of his parents, but he just uses it as a way of laughter. So, and ARP did a documentary on him, so we got to see the documentary, so it was really good. But there's some interesting things about helping our community. It's called a Silver Nest program, where you connect college kids who can live with an older adult who can stay in their home, but it's a win-win for both. And so they can allow our seniors to age in place. Anyway, it was excellent. We had just a whole lot of other speakers, and I won't go into it, but and which I thought there was another thing. That was another interesting thing. They had a gentleman, Representative Jim Walsh from New Jersey, and Joaquin Castro, who you know, and they spoke. I didn't realize that. I knew Joaquin Castro was running for president, but I didn't know that Jim Walsh was running for Republican. And so they had a little dialogue, so that was kind of interesting. Very, very impressed with National League of Cities. They have a whole huge component of youth. And so they had a ton of students that attended this 4-day seminar. And they're trying to educate them for our future leaders. And they had their own seminars, and I just thought it was really, really interesting, because they are our future, just like y'all are this evening. Thank you. The NLC benefits, I wanted to share that with that, and then I'll stop. For $1,500 per year for the size of our city, but they do have annual increases of 3%, our city would have access to over 8,000 grant grants with alerts notifying of new grants available at no cost. An additional benefit is a prescription discount program applying 24% off on all medications to all citizens of Leon Valley for free. I couldn't believe it. I went up to this guy and said, "Are you sure? How does that work?" And he said they contact all of the pharmacies. And so if you're a member of NLC and you have a prescription, this is an added discount for just being a member. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And then they have a service line warranty program. It's where residents can pay a small monthly fee to cover water and sewer line breaks and indoor plumbing. And anyway, in the city, if people sign up for it, and you don't have to be a member of NLC for this, but the city would get like 50 cents per month on whatever they pay. And it's like, $9.99 a month for this warranty program. And that's when your lines break. And this is for aging infrastructure, which we have, but they prefaced it with, remember when you have a break, the city will come out and they'll say, "No, I'm sorry, that's on your side of the line, and the other side is ours, and the city will repair that, but you're responsible if it's broken on your side." So this is the reason this came about. So anyway, but thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I was just going to say, I went in 2008, and we were able to come back with a lead for a grant to write for solar panels, because it was the, I can't remember what they called the program, but they were trying to infuse money back into the communities. And so we were able to write a grant and were awarded the solar panel on the community center. So that was the first National League of Cities that I had attended, and we were able to capitalize on some of their programs. So anyway, thank you all for listening. I do appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity. It was a real shot in the arm, and I really enjoyed it. So, okay, it was probably more than 10 minutes, but I appreciate that. Okay, we do have some more Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts. Would y'all like to introduce yourselves? The last row? I know, I put you on the spot, but I just saw we have 5 now. Just real quick. Thank you, darling. Okay. Everybody's with Troop 515. Okay, very good. And your name, please? Okay, and you're with Troop 515? Okay, great. Okay, Troop 515, and y'all are all working on your citizenship badge, right? Well, thank you. We're sorry that you were late, because we had your 2 other future leaders join us in the pledge. So thank you so much for being here. We wanted to honor you. Okay, so next, presentation number 4. I've spoken with Mr. Cox, and he's super excited too. We spoke last Wednesday when I was up here with the agenda, and your enthusiasm was contagious. And he is, Mr. Cox is our Business Relations Director, and he's going to give us the results of the 2019 business audit. And thank you and welcome, and we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
You bet.
Council. So we have the report out of the 2019
Yes, I saw that.
business audit. So on the background, the goal is to ensure that all businesses located in Leon Valley are legal and safe to operate in accordance to zoning and city ordinances. And it was one of the important options is to look at and ensure that the businesses understood that the certificate occupancies that we're asking for are merely safety inspections. And when we kind of started educating the businesses on that, they become a lot more compliant. And the business audit is an extension of planning and zoning and the business relations department to safeguard economic development in Leon Valley. The annual audit is necessary to maintain consistent and accurate records, and that's pretty much how I got started. So we started looking at different projects that different departments had worked on, and they didn't exactly mirror each other. So we knew we needed to kind of clean that up, and that was going to be a new sweep, an audit for a business audit of all our businesses. It's a prerequisite to monitor trends and business analytics, and it's the future foundation for ED initiatives. And we'll talk about that towards the end. It goes without saying, this is not a one-person job. You can see here, it's multiple people in multiple departments that all came together. It was a massive undertaking, to say the least. And it was something, when you do the sweep, you really got to come in, you got to move fast, and then you bring a lot of the things to the surface, and you got to figure out, which one of these are we going to address. And again, we'll look at the workflow of how that developed. But anyways, I just wanted to recognize and show you how many people were actually involved in the information you're going to see here. So when we set out, initially taking the proposal to Ms. Kinsler, I had all these grand ideas. I had, KPIs and, all this, and we really kind of pulled back the reins and said, okay, we need to really, what is it that our goal is? Kind of pull back on some of that, and let's just start at, a foundation, hence my little pyramid here.
Mm-hmm.
So the items we were trying to capture ultimately was the vacancy rate. We had those questions, and nothing was giving us consistent vacancy rate across all those documents. And that is going to be tied to our certificate of occupancy. That's how we know what businesses are legal and here in the city of Leon Valley. Now, not everybody requires it, but there's also a state tax permit that's required on businesses that have tangible items. And there's some other caveats on, who actually has to have a tax permit and who not. And the other deal is that we don't walk in there with blinders, complete blinders, that if we see life safety issues that we need to address those. And we only do that is when we step inside that door. So those were our primary objectives. Our secondary objectives, I keep going a little fast here, was to understand what tenable properties we have. So when working on the economic development side is when somebody comes through and they're looking for tenable space, I need to have data to say this is what we have that we know is open right now. We needed a master mailing list so that when we want to contact these businesses that we have, an address, an accurate address and suite number to each business in the city of Leon Valley. And this changes because when we have lots of lease build-outs, LBOs, where you might come in and you got a business that needs 2 spaces, so they'll take down a wall and take 2 spaces become 1, or maybe a large space and they subdivide it out. So those kind of change, and with that, the addresses change. So we needed to have an accurate mailing list for each of these businesses as that's changed over the years. We also looked at, code violations. This was a little bit of parameters. We wasn't looking, for every single code violations, but if we saw some of the bigger stuff, they had a little matrix of how to, they would just submit it through On It as any other workflow, and let us address that. And then we were going to update our business information, because sometimes we may have had a business in that space, but it was the wrong business, either by, information being queued in wrong, or they've moved from one suite to the next. We saw that to be a very common issue, that, they were in this space and they kind of moved to a bigger one. They were still there, still had a C of O, but for the different space. And anyway, so we're just trying to update that, or, different owners, different contact, new phone numbers. So we were updating that information. So like the public safety, when they go and have an incident, they come through and they ask themselves at the end of it is, what could we have done better? And that's exactly, well, wasn't anything that we did wrong, but as we started looking at this project, what is it we would do different next time, and what did we learn out of that? So one of those was that the audit needs to be an annual activity. And that is that we already kind of set it up where the businesses understand that we're going to come in once a year, and we're just, it's a very brief discussion where we come in and talk to you. Hi, how are you doing? We'd like to take a look at your certificate of occupancy. Planning and zoning now actually hands that to you in a frame, and it says to be displayed in a conspicuous area. And we're just kind of reminding them to kind of hang it up so we can see it. If it requires a tax permit, we kind of check that off. And hey, would you like to update it? It's one of those friendly visits, but it does need to be an annual, and they'll become more accustomed to that visit versus that it was that certificate of occupancy. They got filed away 15 years ago, and nobody knows where it's at. We learned that the law enforcement officers had a high success rate with business participation and knowledge of city boundaries. So the feet on the ground was, a couple of the Leon Valley police officers that were able to go out and go door to door. We know that we have some tricky boundaries when we get around 410 and stuff. They knew what those boundaries were. They know where that maybe the HEB's got a business inside of a business, and not just if we were initially looking at to do contract labor or interns to do this, they wouldn't have known that, or how to, when they have a business that comes up and have some complaints or issues, of how to kind of mitigate that. Whereas the police officers knew contacts, that hey, this is a person you can contact with, if you had an audit complaint or if you didn't have a C of O, and kind of walk them through that procedure. They had basically a dialogue because they work for the city. The audit should be a quick sweep for accuracy and not last more than 4 weeks. That was a quick lesson to learn, because we have so many businesses coming in and out of the city that if you took more than 4 weeks, that you start on one side of the city, you sweep to the other side. Now, there was already changes that's happened. So it needs to be a nice, clean sweep. And it can happen on the outside. It's that getting that data back and actually processing it that takes a little bit more time, and that's okay. Additional staff was required for the influx of the CO applications. Bless Brandon's staff where they just got, slammed overnight with a ton of, as they're going out and we're finding businesses that, hey, can we see a copy of your certificate of occupancy? What are you talking about? And say, well, this is, and they'd kind of talk them through, each business is required to have, and so we have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, we'll go to planning and zoning. So, all those people started coming into the office, and it created quite a bit of work, and they were able to mitigate that very well. But anyways, it was a lot more work. We got lucky that we were able to utilize a couple interns to help with not only the data entry. I think he also had one in his office to help with that. It was a weekly team meeting to optimize communication and efficiency of the audit. So we started having some little hiccups as we were going through this process, and and Ms. Kinsler kind of says, so how often are you meeting? And I said, well, we're not meeting. She's like, okay, there's the problem. Again, bringing together this, you got to do this in a team, as we saw that list. So we started a weekly team meeting, and it was really nice to, even if it was just 15, 20 minutes, to get us all on track of what it is we're doing, what our mission is. And then we needed additional quality assurance procedures to maintain accuracy. Even as they're out there in the field writing what the information was, if they left off a digit or just transcribed it wrong or whatever it may look like, or if they skipped over a business, we need to have, better quality assurance on that. And that's what I did on my end. When I'd come through, I was just going in randomly when stuff didn't make sense, when numbers didn't match, or like, just if it was on one side of the road, I know it's evens on one side and odds, and I would go out there and physically put my eyes on that. And that was the quality assurance part. So this is a very busy slide, but what I think is interesting, why I wanted to include that when we started, this workflow had 5 boxes. So I have this grand idea that we're going, if this happens, we'll do this. This happened, and it was 5 boxes. When we got through, this is what it looked like. So that we had, an outlet of how everything was actually going to happen, and that we were all on the same page. That was what's most important, because we didn't want to share that the troops on the street were saying one thing, and then they call up here, and I'm telling them another thing, and then they go over to planning and zoning, and then it's another thing, another story. So we wanted, it's only fair to our businesses that they get a consistent answer from us, each and every time. And when you get time, you can kind of go through and see, how that workflow, how it progresses for different issues. I do want to highlight that over here on the right-hand side, you'll see if they come in and they see a major life, health, safety concern, everything stopped. They immediately report to the proper department. So, if they saw, drug use, they're snorting drugs on the, countertop right there. It stops, and, the police department's involved. If, they come up and they can't get there because the doors are chained shut, the fire department's immediately going to get notified. And because the audit didn't exist at that point, because the life safety, is our primary job. And then if it was, minor, we would, take it to just a regular audit entry if the team saw that. We would continue to track it when we saw that. And I'm proud to say that we only had a couple, and they weren't immediate, like everything stopped, but 2 that came to, service, said, hey, we probably need to go take a look at this, and abated them quite fast. So now we get into the actual numbers. So one of the first things we were able to push out is, because we didn't have this answer, was how many multi-tenant spaces do we have versus how many standalones? So here we see that we have 620 multi-tenant, which is the vast majority of what we'd all assume, but we actually have a number now. Standalones, 177. That's going to be your Whataburger, Starbucks, Cane's, those kind of just, just little ones that are sitting by themselves. Not so much, we have like what they call anchor stores, but I still consider those, an anchor store would be Hobby Lobby that's anchored inside of a strip center. So it's not considered standalone. I still would put that under a multi-tenant space. One of the interesting finds was that we got 54 home businesses, and I expect that number to be quite a bit higher. So we did this by cross-referencing multiple other charts. So we looked at the fire department's master list of what they do inspections on. I took it off some other economic development projects that have been done in the past before I came here, kind of compared it to that. And where I caught these was I filtered the state comptroller's tax permit, and there's 54 home businesses that have tax permits that they're doing something out of their home. And Brandon's, aware of this. They don't require a C of O, but, we've looked in other cities, may require them just to register. Let us know you're here and that you're doing business. But anyway, so we know that, I have 54 businesses right now. And then we got 4 on the other. So that would be... an example would be Redbox. So we go to Walgreens, and you have a Redbox out there. That is a business that is operating at the same space there. And oddly enough, I have a couple of businesses that are solely run. They're not giving a physical address. It's just their P.O. box. So we got to kind of get to some resolution of that. But a couple of those are that type of stuff. So, and here's our certificate of occupancy status. So the two extracted boxes, little wedges, are the ones that we're most concerned about. So 537 businesses have current, accurate, proper C of Os. And we have 54 that are exempt. And I probably shouldn't have used this word exempt, but they are your home businesses, which we don't have an ordinance that says that they have to have a certificate of occupancy. So we know that's the vast majority of them. And then we have some government buildings, the post office being one. They're not required to have a certificate of occupancy. The NA there is going to be our our spaces that they're vacant, so that there's no certificate of occupancy because it's an empty space right now. Our bad number is at 71 right there. These are people that we know there's a business. We know they don't have a certificate of occupancy, and they've not made contact with the city, even though we've had, may or may not have sent out letters and stuff. And then we have open 94. These are, we look at over, big spans of time, 10 plus years, where at some point they've opened up that C of O application process. And it's been open. I might find it in code. We may have some paperwork, whatever that might look like. But at some point, you've opened it up. You've made contact with us. We know you're there. So, and that's just, cleaning up some files. But we're just kind of reporting out what we have. I think that number is going to be a lot smaller as we, again, go through. And it may have been archived, and, they just don't have a copy. But we know that the application has been submitted. Again, we're aggressively taking a look at that 71. And it's something that now that we have this number, that's what we're going to attack. Now, I'll tell you that when we started doing this, I would probably be, there was a time where we were at about 140 to 150 that I knew didn't have certificate occupancies. And that's how many we cleaned up. Now, what I didn't do was capture a snapshot because it was dynamic. It was always moving. Well, before we could even finish the field work of that, we were already having inspections and getting people their C of O on the front side. So, again, it wasn't, I couldn't actually capture that number. Safe to assume it's probably a lot bigger number. So, again, kudos to planning and zoning for the work that they put in to get all those people, through their inspections, get their C of O, and have them be a legitimate Leon Valley business. So, and this is what, when we started at that pyramid, what we're really trying to ultimately get is our vacancy rate. So this number comes up, it's your total available spaces minus your home businesses. Because if we have a home business and they leave and somebody comes in and it's just a regular house, it's not a space that I need to fill in with another business. It was their home all along. So I backed out that number. So that's why you'll see a total of 801. And then our total vacant spaces is 97 for an impressive, to me, 12.11%. So as I look through some of the documents that we were able to find on the iDrive and stuff of things that done, looks like our vacancy rate was sitting in the 14-15% on those different ones. So we're at 12.11. Now let's kind of compare that now. So these are a couple of snippets that I'd found out of some different articles. The first one here is a forecast of retail vacancy rates in the United States for the first quarter of 2019 going through the third quarter of 2020. So let's just take a look where we're at, and you'll look at the fourth quarter 2019, the national standard is 13.4. So we're below the national standard. And just as you were learning from your classes, that the possibility of an impending recession is here. So we see that that's rising. It was kind of hard to find really accurate information on the Bexar County, San Antonio region here, or at least the MSA. Of what's going on, because they break it out into retail stores and standalone, and it's broken into these levels that I wasn't looking for. But what I did find here is the commercial real estate for 2019 for San Antonio, where they reported, and this was a recent article, and there's the website to it, the overall vacancy rate for San Antonio has remained steady at 14 to 15% for the past 5 years, and this is in spite of the addition of many new buildings in the market. And again, I remind you, Leon Valley, 12.11%. 2017, San Antonio was the third fastest growing metro in the nation. As a result, the Alamo City is one of the more successful markets in Texas for leasing of retail space, and we're exceeding them. So, your business audit program. The business audit is an essential tool to maintain current and accurate records for local businesses. So anytime we start gathering this information, the first question always comes up, what are you going to do with it? And the intended use is for this data to serve as a foundation for economic prosperity in the city of Leon Valley. So what's next? What I want to do with this foundation that we're establishing is shop local initiatives. I've had multiple Leon Valley citizens come through, and I'll just use an example. It's like, it bothers me that I have to go to San Antonio to get my transmission worked on. And I'm like, wow, I got 5 transmission shops. That's all they do here. But, they don't drive down, Timco or Reindeer Trail to know, that's, there's these shops over there. But I think we could do a better job of educating them on a shop local initiative of what's going on there. So, and as you see on your spreadsheet of the actual information, we're going to drop some other boxes, and we're going to look at special class businesses. So we had our program, so we can look at, is there minority-owned, veteran-owned, female-owned businesses, and start assisting them on what opportunities there are for them, and actually promote that in our city. Enhance the status of sales tax, food and alcohol permits. So we did capture some of that, and I'm doing it through attrition right now. So as new ones coming in, I'm capturing if it's a food business, do they require that, and do we actually have copies of it? So we'll kind of pick that up next time. We're going to update the business workbook to include the zoning district and the square footage. So the actual workbook itself is got tons of formulas on there. So I could literally go, center, I want to see vacant spaces, less than 2,500 space, in a B2 zone, and I'll only show those businesses. And it'd be nice because I could have that information in the developer's hand in seconds versus, now just kind of, well, I think I remember seeing, it's no more of this thing, hey, here we got real data to kind of play with. And again, through the attrition, as I'm doing zoning inspections, I'll be adding that, because those are coming in quite plentiful. And then the next audit, maybe we'll have them off this certificate of occupancy. It'll have that information, have them update that. So anything that's missing, they'll kind of help fill that in. And then we're going to be able to track and trend vacancy rates. So at the end of this year, when we get to December 1, because even the documents changed in the last few days, not by a lot, but a little bit, because again, they've issued a few more certificate of occupancies. One business has kind of changed, but I want to take a snapshot. So, get out of this, that it's always a living document that I don't have it. I want to take a snapshot so that we can look and see what were we doing last year. So that's one of the things we're going to do. And the same thing with the On-It program. So with that, I'm open to any questions you might have about the business audit.
Wow, a lot of information. But thank you. It was very, very, and I know you've worked so hard on it all year. Now, when you're finished, you were saying that you wanted to do an annual audit. When will the next annual audit begin?
So tying this in with interns that we were able to get highly skilled people that are, it's a little bit more than data entry on this. Ms. Kinsler has relationships with UTSA to get some, high-performing interns in here to help us with these programs. And so that usually happens about mid-May. And it kind of worked out right. Before it gets, that Texas heat's just beating up the people out there on the actual streets. But, when they left, I wanted to bring it in there for kind of cause and effect to show you the documents. Right now I got a stack in my office, no exaggeration, that tall of the forms that they brought back to us. They're all tethered, and but now they'll go out with a spreadsheet, and they'll see these empty fields that, hey, we don't have this, so let's go ahead and capture the phone number or email. Would you like to add an email address? Zoning, if I can see that on certificate of occupancy, and it's just kind of good data in, good data out. And we were.
And did I understand that you only want it to go, whenever you do this next audit, and you're going to compare it with what you have this year, only 4 weeks to go through all of the businesses? So how many staff people do you need for that?
So this year, we had 2 officers do it in right at about 4 to 5 weeks. And I think one of them was
2 officers.
2 officers.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's just, they knew what they were doing. They knew what the boundaries were. They worked together as a team. And then we came, like I said, as we came together as a team, kind of figuring out where those obstacles were. And I think it's actually going to be a little faster this time because they're not having to document so much because, at least we have the address now. So even if the business changed, and then we should still be able to, when I get with a zoning inspection, when a business comes in and I start entering an address, I have my spreadsheet set up. It'll kind of like, hey, that address already exists. So what I'll do is I'll bracket it. That shows another business that's already come in. But I want to know what businesses were there before you. So, I have one business, unfortunately, one space that's now on its 3rd occupant since I've been here in 13 months. But I can see what those other 2 businesses were because they were bracketed.
Okay.
Kind of.
So now you have the ability to categorize all of the businesses. So like you said, maybe we could even, automotive, restaurants, whatever. So
Absolutely.
of all of, and then also, did you add which businesses were sales tax generators?
So we're still working on that. So, you can say that there's just so many caveats. It was hard to train the peace officers on that. It's going to be essentially my job to go out there and work on that. That may be kind of a supplemental. We know medical products don't require a C of O. We have the hardest issue with probably automotive. If you go to one of these stores, that whether if they're not charging tax on it, now on their end, we have to find out, are you using your tax exempt to buy it from the parts house, or are you just paying tax on it? Because the state will find out. And it's their job. They do their own little audits on it, but that kind of seems to be a problem. We saw a lot of like barbershops that would come through, and no, I'm a barbershop, I'm a service, but they'll have that shampoo or their T-shirt or something out front. If it's a tangible item, they need a tax ID.
Okay, gotcha.
And we found, it's still probably single digits, but we found some very large businesses here that didn't have the proper tax permit that we were able to get corrected to start seeing, bringing those revenues back to the city. And the state comptroller, I think, will go back up to a couple of years, kind of getting that addressed.
Okay, and one last question. How do you determine when a business leaves?
That's been a hard one. So the other day, I was doing an inspection, moving one of my businesses out of a shopping center and moving them a little further down the road. And I looked next door, and it was Gabriel's Liquor. And I was like, wow, it just doesn't look to be as vibrant as it was. And as I walk next door, I see they're gone. I was like, and I've been through these economic development classes, and it's really hard. How I do that is opening up that communication. So that we need to, one of the projects I want to do with this next one is, it can't be to me walking in and say, I need information from you. I want to leave behind these little, card stock that may say, hey, hey, here's services that we offer in the city, or a did you know, or maybe some contact, hey, if you want a temporary sign that's allowed, for 30 days, twice a year, give them some snippets and hand that to them, to kind of give them something back in that relationship, or, contact us for project, funding ideas.
Okay.
Again, leave them with them, open that communication so that if you're struggling, that was, Gabrielle's was a large decision made, by the region.
Could we do it through like electrical or water shutoffs or something like that, or no? I'm just
ask your question again on what part you want to capture.
Well, when businesses leave, I know that's a big issue, and I was just thinking of water bills or electrical.
That's a great idea.
I don't know. I'm just
like
because I know that's a moving target.
Maybe I could talk to them, and when they transfer it out of their name, that kind of somehow or another that we set an alert to send it to us. That, at least let me go check on it. And maybe if you're consistently late on your bill, maybe I could talk to those business owners. Hey, how can we? Because we have so many resources. UTSA small business departments being one of them, to really walk them. And they have everything to teaching them classes on using QuickBooks and business strategies, social media, and they set them down on the computer. It's all free, and they walk them through their P&Ls and really set them up to succeed. And I have those resources, but I have to know that you're struggling to be able to hand that to you.
Sure. So now you have a complete listing of all of the businesses, and you have a complete listing of all of the vacancies. So if somebody comes into our city, then you can show them the vacancies and where they're at and how much it is. And
now, understand that we still have a margin of error in this,
understand.
but I think it's going to be a very, very small one compared to where we've been.
Great. Thank you.
Right now, as I go, it's hard to make it change. I don't want it to change, but as I go through, and I'm still adding information. So I'll go through is look at prior C of Os that I want, and Brandon's office will push out the application, and that's where I can grab some information. I can find out what their zoning was, and again, I'll update that sheet. It's just at 855 businesses, that's a lot of information to add.
That is. Okay, thank you. I'll quit asking questions and ask my colleagues if they have any more. But you've done a very thorough job, and thank you. And thank you to all of the team.
Absolutely, it was a team effort.
So you've got the business audit, but you've got the audit right here that y'all work together too, as I saw on your flow chart. So very good.
They mesh well.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
I just wondered, the red means that they don't have a C of O?
Yes, so that was kind of for me. So I set up some conditional formatting so that when I go in there and type in yes, it automatically turns that box red, because that's on our immediate to-do front burner list of what we need to tackle next.
The ones that jumped out to me were HEB, Ancira, IHOP. I mean, places like that. How can it be that they don't have? So
it's about we had to figure out, one of the obstacles that we came through is that every time we found a CO, we'd go, stop, let's get them a CO, and let's walk them through that, and we would stop the audit process. And the audit itself is just get the information so that I'm equipped to handle that. And we kept just wanting to do that customer service and let's just walk you through this and stop the whole process. And that's what was bogging us down. So we just got to capture that information. Well, I'm confident that HEB has one. It may be archived. We got to get that information. But when we talked about good data in, good data out, right now I don't have any proof of that. So that's what that document says until we can get that. And again, we'll, as we continuously, we're going to clean that up because there was a lot of big ones, that you'll see in there. And there was some big ones that just didn't have one because, back when they opened up, they just kind of, I don't think it was, there was nobody there to say, you have to have it or you can't be here.
That's a long time ago for
Yes,
HEB. They've been here a long
Sure.
time.
But we can also look at HEB curbside. When they've opened up that, they worked with the Planning and Zoning Department, went through everything as they're supposed to. They have a good, C of O
Okay.
For that one. So,
Okay, excellent. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cox, for your presentation. Along the same lines of the certificate of occupancy, as you were doing the audit and you went around and you asked businesses for their COO, was there any, is the onus totally on the business to provide that, or do we keep a copy of it ourselves and say, oh, here it is, if you don't have it, we can provide you with a copy?
currently we use Encode. So the number, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, the 2006 is the line where everything was kind of entered into it and forward. So if you were here before 2006, those were pretty much paper files, and they've been, been sent to storage. So we have to go through, figure out where it's at, pick up, information. Again, a great project for an intern to go through and help us clean up these files.
Right.
But anyway, so to answer your question, audit, I'm sorry, not audit, the Encode is enable us to go through, and I can go through and do a report and see what reports they've had done, and a lot of them are scanned in there, so I can literally see the physical, actual paper copy of that. And you'll look at that flow chart that if they did not have one displayed, which is supposed to be displayed by ordinance, that we just have them come up and apply for a new copy of it, because we know it exists.
Right.
And we had that conversation, and again, just really that softer edge of we're not here to beat you up, we're just trying to do a sweep and see what we have. Now, that 71's the ones we really want to work on. I don't think that's it's a factual number, but we'll get through that as we can. And we see a little bit of issue where, take HEBs, Starbucks, whatever, so I'll come in there and I'll ask this very young manager, that's been here only a fraction of the time that the business has been here, needs certificate, oh, that's corporate. And they just kind of, that's corporate. That's corporate decision. That's corporate decision. Yeah, but your business, your space needs this. And so, we found those struggles, because if you're mom and pop shop, you have ownership of like, hey, I have to have this, and versus that's just your job. So we did kind of see that, and but again, working with them, I don't think we issued a single stop work order through this. I don't think we did.
And this sounds like it was like a kind of a big first time, or maybe in a while, cleanup that you did. So going forward, it should be easier, right?
So. And yes, sir. So again, I encourage you to take a look at that workflow. So next time, and that's what we built on, what's going to be from the future here, so that we can kind of really impregnate and just make this is the procedure the way it is. It's got some very deadlines. So I come in and find you don't have one. You have 10 days to get the application and get it back to them. Then you have like a 30 days to actually finish all your inspections and have it. If not, then that could become either that stop work order or cease and desist.
Okay. And then as far as the occupancy rate, you said 12%, 12.4, whatever percent. Vacancy rate, sorry. Do you have that? It sounds like you're kind of getting there, kind of gathering all the data, but you'd have that by square footage as well?
No, sir, I don't.
Or by single, multi building or single building?
No, sir. So as we build that foundation out, that's what we're going to hope to expand it to.
Okay.
Where I can look at, who's going to be our most problematic, and it might be, the least built out less than 1,000 foot. Those are the people, because they're the ones that come in and out and before you even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Where, Hobby Lobby, you build that, I know you're building something and something's going on, but they're working with us before that. They'll have developers. So we kind of know that, but it's always like the data to back that up.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Hody.
Yes, Mr. Cox, thank you. I know that you and I have spoken numerous times about different things from what you just talked about, and I'm impressed. Thank you for cleaning up, all of you, from the city manager down, and it's not down really, for doing all this. And there's been years, I know, of things that needed to be a little more fine-tuned, to say the least, and I just want to thank you for connecting the city to the businesses. and not just here's your C of O, see ya.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and the best of luck, and we'll just keep filling the vacancies with good
Well, let's see if we can get that number,
tax,
that number lower.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sales tax businesses. Thank you.
I also wanted to just supplement real quick, with Gabriel's Liquors. The entire chain is under Chapter 311 right now. So it's not only in Leon Valley.
But you know, the Gabriel's over at Sprouts is still open, and this one was closed.
They're reorganizing, so they're
Okay.
under Chapter 311.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering why one was closed and one was
Yeah.
open. It's a
The
reorganization. I
corporations,
thought that
just
was
so
at
you know.
12, but anyway.
Oh, did I say it wrong? Is it at 12?
I think it's at 12, not at
Oh,
13. Yeah,
sorry.
that's
Okay.
the only reason yeah.
Sorry.
The bankruptcy is reorganization. Okay, thank you. All right. We're moving on then to the regular agenda, item number 3.1. Ms. Postle, if you'll please read that agenda item.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council amending community-centered budget of the City of Leon Valley, Texas municipal budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $179,240 and the general fund economic development project funding in the amount of $179,240 to provide the funding source for the Leon Valley Community Center for the remodel of the Community Center facility, Senior Center, providing for repeal or severability and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Mendoza.
Thank
and
you,
welcome.
Mayor, and good evening,
We're glad
Council.
you're here.
Thank you so much. So the purpose of this presentation is to present and discuss on an ordinance authorizing budget adjustments for the Community Center Fund and the General Fund to remodel the Community Center, the interior and exterior of the building, which would include the kitchen, replacement of chairs and tables, flooring, restrooms, and paint the interior and exterior of the building. So just a couple of background points. March of this year, the city filed an application with the Bexar County Community Development Block Grant Program proposing to remodel the Senior Center. And unfortunately, we found out that the project was not selected to be funded. So a couple of upgrades we've done, recent upgrades we've done is add the handicap accessible doors, the front of the facility and now the back of the facility to make it easier for our seniors that are there usually Monday through Friday. And we've added new AC units to the building last year, which was definitely needed. As you can see in this picture, a lot of our items have begun to come down, to break, definitely need a replacement. You can see the beams there were, I believe, maroon at one point, and now they are very, very, very brown. So repainting would be great, definitely make the building a lot brighter. Here are the women restrooms at the community center. If you see closely, there are a lot of stains on the floor, and these floors are vinyl, which any type of liquid or any type of thing that's spilled on the floors seep through the vinyl flooring, which tends to cause a foul odor, especially in the restrooms. And we've had a lot of complaints from the renters and even the seniors that sometimes the restrooms are, they do smell. Now we've cleaned them. Our Public Works has done a great job putting deodorants in there. It's just sometimes it's not enough. And this is just a bigger picture of the women's restrooms. You can see it is definitely outdated. This is the front of the community center kitchen. A lot of the stains you see at the bottom, our Public Works do a quarterly deep clean in each facility, but sometimes they just don't, these stains don't come off. They are very difficult to cover, and I think they've repainted them a couple of times, but again, because these facilities are used on a weekend basis for several different types of events, they do tend to get dirty and stained. This picture is the kitchen at the community and conference centers, and I don't have a close-up, but you see our countertops have begun to chip and some are cracked. This kitchen also has the same vinyl flooring that the restrooms have. So any type of liquid or food that tends to get dropped on the floor will seep through the cracks, and this also brings up cockroaches, which is something we're trying to eliminate. Here are the the floors for the community center. The floor was built in 1987 with the building, which is about over 30 years old, and we did coat it with epoxy in 2013. But you can see they begin to crack, to chip, I'm sorry. And we use these, the facility on a weekend basis, so moving the chairs and tables does tend to make chips on the floor. These are the community center tables. So I believe we started with 50 tables, and now we're down to 30. And these are commercial tables. They're not just those tables you can purchase at Costco or Walmart. These are specifically made for events like this because they do tend to last. As you can see, these tables were purchased with the building, so they're about 30 years old now. And they have definitely been there for the long run. So the chairs and tables would definitely be replaced, would be adding more to the facility and be better for the seniors. I think Ms. Shirley Jonas said that at one point she was able to sell 50 tables at her, or the Trash and Treasures, and now we're down to 30. So she's seen a decrease and would like to have these increased again. Here's an itemized list of the estimated project cost of $179,240. You'll see here some of the items that is needed to update the kitchen to make it a catering kitchen, which is a lot of what our renters are requesting. The total project cost again is $179,240, and the estimates came from contractors that Public Works Director Melinda was able to give to me, I believe, during the remodel of the Leon Valley Cafe kitchen. So she got those estimates during that process. And again, just a breakdown of the total cost. So the community center remodel is $152,490. The engineers to design the kitchen, the restrooms, $26,750. So total cost is $179,240. The funding for the project will come from the Economic and Community Development Reserves as approved by the Advisory Committee, which is estimated to be $600,000 in reserves. So in order to fund the project, a budget adjustment in the amount of $179,240 is needed in the community center fund. But fiscal year 20, we don't have enough funds budgeted in the general fund economic and community development project funding for this project. So then another budget adjustment would be needed for the general fund economic and community project funding in the amount of $179,000 to fund the remodel of the project. So it'd be 2 budget adjustments needed. Remodeling the community center will definitely enhance the rentals for the center and quality of life for the seniors and our citizens that are usually there throughout the week. It does align with our C statement, and I stand for any questions.
Okay, very good. Maribel, what was the reason given for why our city did not receive the CDBG grant?
I believe Mr. Dimmeline was the one who spoke with the committee. I'm not sure what.
I was just curious what that was.
Mayor, we don't really have an answer other than it is a competitive grant, so there were other cities that did apply, but we didn't have a specific reason for not being selected.
Oh, okay. All right. And then is there any work on that list that could be done by our experienced staff? I remember when I think it was Mayor Baldridge actually got the original funding for the community center, and I believe, and Ms. Baldridge, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought some of it was contracted out and some of it our staff did so that we could save some money. So I didn't know if that was a consideration.
Way back then, they did have time. Now they do not have time to do this. Number 2, I don't have the experienced staff that I had. All the guys that were able to do that have retired.
Oh, okay.
And there's certain items on here. Anytime you do plumbing or electric that's over $8,000 in value, you have to have it engineered. And so.
Oh, okay. And we didn't have that 30 years ago, we didn't have that rule?
I don't know.
Oh,
if they
okay. Because I think they did a lot of the work, as I recalled. Yes, sir. Yes, you bet.
I failed to mention, too, that I mentioned other cities, but in this category, we did go up against nonprofits. So Habitat for Humanity was one of the projects that was selected. Just
Okay.
as a follow-up to
Okay,
your question.
all right, thank you. I guess I don't know what any kind of a timeline is, but I am concerned because we have, and I don't know how we're going to do this, if it's going to be in phases or what, but Earthwise is on March the 7th, and the Senior Trash and Treasure, I think, is the next weekend. And so I'm just wondering how that's going to impact it and how it would be done in phases or all at once. And I was also wondering, have the seniors been given an opportunity to weigh in on this at all?
Well, I spoke with Miss Shirley Jonas numerous times, and she's the one pushing to remodel the place. She would like her tables back, and she would like the place to look a little bit more fresh. So she actually, I think, said she was going to send you an email, send City Council an email, pushing for this remodel because she was very.
Yeah, I did. I have not received that, but no, I mean, I think it's a good project. I guess as I look at this project, which is 179,240, and then the other project at the end of the agenda for the flood control for 300 and whatever 15 or 325,000 or something. So we have close to 700,000, but we're taking half of the money out of the reserve for two projects, which is, I mean, again, these are needed projects, but I just was wanting to see if we could maybe get the citizens involved, because there's a lot of community development and economic development projects out there, and maybe it would be good for us to brainstorm what they are, prioritize them, and then attack it that way. I'm just thinking of the pool, for instance. We have a lot of expense on the pool, and we're going to take that up at the town hall meeting. And I know people have said, "Oh, what about repainting our water towers with our new logo?" That kind of thing. I remember Walter Garrity coming in years and years and years ago with an idea, and I think, Melinda, you even priced it, a new fence along Evers Road to make it look really nice and clean and smooth. So there's a lot of ideas out there. Not that these aren't good. These are great ideas, but I was thinking of maybe we could have an economic development, community development brainstorming session at the town hall meeting, maybe substitute the El Verde or something, and present these projects and just see if there's any others. And anyway, that's what's been coming to my mind, because I'd hate to miss out on some, maybe
The big thing about this project is that we do rent it out every weekend, and we feel like we're not getting the kind of revenue that we could because it is so outdated. If you go to any of the other event centers, you'll have a nice kitchen, you'll have nice restroom facilities.
Not that it's not needed. I agree. I'm just...
This would actually increase our revenue, whereas some other projects are needed, but they're not going to increase our revenue at that center.
Well, that's a good point.
And I think the other point is that this was primarily built for the seniors, and the seniors have been complaining for almost as long as I've been here about these restrooms.
They've complained to me as well.
The kitchen is not habitable.
And I wish Vicki was here, but I know, and I shared with Melinda and I shared with Will when I was here last week, that I don't know if I picked it up in a seminar or what, but because we have this constant sales tax revenue every single month, $20,000 to $22,000 a month, I think, más o menos. Why can't we leverage on that and possibly, borrow a larger amount to cover more projects? That's just an idea, and I don't know if we've ever considered that. So, because, like I said, these are two needed projects, but we have a lot of other needed projects as well. So I don't know.
Mayor, to answer your first question, this would be done in phases.
In phases.
Upon City Council approval, correct.
Okay, but we don't know which phases. I mean, would we have to shut down the
With some of the remodels, we would. For example, the restrooms, you wouldn't have any restrooms.
You can't.
Conference center.
Can't
But
use
for example,
anything.
the kitchen, I'm sure the facility would be able to be used at one side and just have the kitchen closed.
Okay. you know, there's just so much, and this is such a great opportunity. We've never seen this reserve this large, and so I just would like for us to think about it. Anyway, that's it. Anyone else? Ms. Alcacer, did you have something? And then Mr. Bradshaw.
Yes, I personally think this is needed far more than a fence on Evers Road.
That was just an example.
But
Yeah,
Evers
just an
Road is
example.
owned by individual homeowners. They can put up the fences if you go by it. But I don't think that's a use of taxpayer money. But, and it's because you brought it up that I'm referring back to it.
fine.
But anyway, the interesting thing that happened, I went to the EDCD meeting that night, and the EDCD group was very interested in this project and even indicated they don't want it done haphazardly. And if they told Maribel repeatedly that if there were other things needed, to please come back to them because this is a very well-needed project, which I agree. It's kind of embarrassing to have these things happening. We have 300 people coming in a couple of weeks, and, you know, the place just is really embarrassing, and I don't have any objection to doing this.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Bradshaw, Councilor Bradshaw.
Yes, Ms. Moritz, you said that it was rented out every weekend, or I'm just kind of I'm wondering what is the occupancy rate of this, or Maribel, if you know. How often is the conference center rented out?
So the community center, which is the one where, yes,
Sorry.
during the summer, we're looking at every weekend, including our Fridays, because a lot of the kids are out of school. During our holiday months, almost every Saturday for holiday parties, and sometimes during the week within the holiday months.
So do we have any idea, like, I mean, I don't know if we keep records of, is it, you know, mostly like holiday parties, like you said, or is it weddings, or is it other, do we have any kind of statistics of what it's being used for? Because obviously, if we wanted to use it, to me, more for weddings, you'd probably want it even nicer, spend.
It's a mixture of both. So I have weddings, sweet 16s, quinceañeras. Sometimes I have a wedding on a Friday, quinceañera Saturday, and an anniversary party Sunday. So honestly, it's all three combined.
So it's all, pretty much every weekend
correct.
is rented, and then during the week as well?
Very rare during the week. The community center is used by our seniors during the week.
Right.
But for example, December 11th, which is, I believe, on a Wednesday or Thursday, we have the Bandera Road meeting. So meetings like this are where we do hold during the week, but very rare are we hosting those types of events during the week.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess the other thing, the estimate that was provided, 179K, was this just the numbers that we came up with internally, or has anybody provided us any kind of outside quotes on this stuff?
I actually priced all of the things that you see, the ice maker, microwave, all that stuff from A-Smart, so that's an actual real figure.
Right.
I got estimates for the
Commercial,
plumbing and
commercial.
Right, commercial,
Yeah.
great. And then the estimates on the plumbing and electric came from our contractors that we have right now that are actually doing some electrical work for us.
Okay.
And then we also got the estimate for the architect from L&B Engineers.
Okay, thank you. Is there any way we could get, you know, if we were to move forward with this, like a mock-up of what it would look like after?
I'm sure the architect would be happy to do that.
We also had somebody from the EDCD board, I forget which member it was, but say they wanted to do their wedding there. And when they went into the kitchen and the restrooms, they chose a different place to rent because of that.
Which has happened several times with other renters.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Hody.
Thank you for your presentation, and we definitely want to be fiscally responsible here. And, you know, I don't know if we could maybe look at portions of it that would kind of spiff it up a little bit if we decide to not spend the whole amount. And I was wondering if Ms. Moritz could, you know, any kind of a projection on how much more we might be able to pull in, or once it's fixed up, would we maybe increase the fees? Because, yeah, it's a nice place, but it's kind of dumpy looking. And inside, I mean, it just is. And the bathrooms are gross, so yes.
That's my fear, is if you don't go ahead and go whole hog, just do it. Let's just get it done and get it up, because then she can re-advertise that and say, look, renovated place, you know, better facility, great kitchen, catering kitchen, which is what everybody's really asking for. If you do it piecemeal, you don't get that opportunity to say, boom, grand opening, reopening or whatever it is. So.
We can definitely adjust our fee schedule.
Okay, yeah,
Include
that makes sense what you said. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from our, Miss Baldridge, you started it all when you were mayor by getting that grant for the community center. Thank you. But it's been a while.
It was for the community center.
Uh-huh,
The
that's
intent
right.
was for a new library, and
That's
there was
right.
no choice
That's right.
at that
See,
time, so
mhm.
I took for the lesser of the evil at that time, but it's paid off over
It has
the
paid
years.
off, yeah. Thank
No,
you.
I just wanted to come in with a comment. I think one thing, we have to address the cleanliness, but let's include the furniture. It's been several weeks ago, I had someone complaining to me about looking at leasing it, and they said they looked at the furniture, and yes, the chairs, people come with families, and you know what happens when you have young children? You have to clean the chairs. And I think we've been overlooking that. If that can be addressed, it would be helpful.
I believe it's all new furniture too. Isn't that part of the,
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
children don't see those things, so it might be a little helpful. Maybe not for now, but in the future.
okay. Thank you for that comment. Do appreciate it. All right. Great. Okay. Seeing no one else, then we will move to the next agenda item because this is a first read. All right. Thanks for all those comments. Do appreciate it. Moving then to regular agenda item 3.2, discussion and possible action on a resolution casting 8 votes and a nomination by the City of Leon Valley City Council for the Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors for 2020-2021, and Ms. Kinsler is here to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So Leon Valley has 8 votes every year for the seat for the Bear Appraisal District. And this year, we need to let the chief appraiser know who our choice is by December the 15th. Those are the nominees. Normally, since I've been here, I don't know how normal that is, but you guys usually do the north side person because they represent your area. But I just need to know who you want your 8 votes to go for so that we can send this in to the appraisal district. That's it.
I agree. George Torres, I mean, he has worked with us. He's working with us on Bandera Road, or his office in Northside is working with us on Bandera Road. So I don't know, what do y'all think? 8 big votes. As you saw, we don't have very many compared to other communities that have a lot. So, anybody disagree?
No, it looked to me that it didn't matter much.
No, it doesn't matter too much. You're right.
They have huge numbers coming from all of those,
All right.
or even Roberto Trevino is fine, but Torres is okay.
Okay. Just a motion and a second for who we'd like to nominate.
I move that we put our 8 votes toward George Torres.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion to nominate George Torres for this board, and a second by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez. 8 votes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. We'll get it sent out on your behalf.
Okay, and moving then to agenda item number 3.3, discussion, consider possible action on a resolution authorizing the application and acceptance of an Alamo Area Council of Government ACOG grant for the 2020-2021 Regional Solid Waste Grant Program. And we have Assistant Public Works Director Dave Demeline here to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Yes, glad you're here.
This item is a resolution that would authorize the filing of a grant application with ACOG for the 2020-2021 Regional Solid Waste Grant Program. And what we would like to do is apply for 5 65-gallon solar-powered trash compacting stations, and we would utilize these in our parks. And these actually have the ability to compact up to 8 times the garbage or the material, which would reduce our amounts of trips in servicing them. And they're even outfitted with a platform that will notify us when they're ready to be serviced. So here's a some pictures of what they look like. We would have the ability to put, say, like a logo, like the City of Baltimore, and then in the lower portion of the screen, you can see kind of the internal mechanism that allows us to compact. The fiscal impact, the total amount of these bins would be $23,500, and we're proposing a match of 25%, which is $5,875. And we have this budgeted currently in our general fund, Public Works Department. As I mentioned, the total is $23,500, and so the ACOG grant amount is $17,625. So we do recommend approval of the resolution. The grant is due on December the 12th.
Okay.
So we kind of have a draft ready to go, but this is a component of
Right.
the application. Would
Exactly.
be the resolution. And we have applied the last 2 times. We're able to get funding for a brush chipper several years ago. And then recently we also applied for some waste receptacles that are also in our parks. So
We have one right out here in the front.
We do.
Yes, which I think is cool. And that came from the ACOG grant.
Yes, ma'am. It did. So.
That's right. When do they notify of the
They
grant?
they take about
Matters.
30 days to go through the applications, and then if we're selected, we go back for a presentation at ACOG.
Oh.
Usually in like mid-January, and then the selections are done shortly thereafter.
Okay.
So we could possibly, if we were selected, it would be like this coming summer probably when we could make the purchase.
Okay, and you have the 8 sites already in mind of where you'd like these?
We do. We've talked about it internally, but we were thinking pretty much our neighborhood parks.
Oh, yeah.
3, and then also having a couple in the Remkes Park, our main park.
Very good. All right, any other questions for Mr. Demeline on the?
Environmentally, too, it'll really help us with our carbon footprint as
Yes.
far as not driving. We empty these quite very often on the weekends, and I think having that compaction feature would minimize those trips as well.
Very good. All right, yes, Councilor Alcacer.
Did you find a way, or can you find a way that people who drop their trash 10 feet away, they can be buzzed to? Anyway, I think it's a wonderful idea, and it certainly will help with, especially when there's the large parties, the bins become overflowing pretty quickly. It would be a great idea. Do they do it themselves?
They do. They're basically solar powered, and when it's time to compress, it's all internal. So, and then as I mentioned, we have the ability to where it basically sends a message when it's time to be serviced. So
That's great.
Excellent. All right, any other questions? All right. All right, so if I could have a motion and a second to accept or to adopt the resolution for this grant, I'd appreciate it.
I move that we authorize the Public Works to apply and accept the ACOG grant for these receptacles.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Bradshaw to approve the resolution authorizing the application and acceptance of the ACOG solid waste grant for 20 to 21. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you so much, Mr. Demline, for your efforts. We're moving along with all these gadgets that helps us environmentally in our community. So wonderful. Thank you. All right, then moving to the city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, would you like to begin?
Yes, Mayor, Council, thank you. First of all, I would like to wish our mayor happy birthday. She did not want a birthday cake because she ate too much at Thanksgiving like the rest of us did.
Oh.
So instead, we got you flowers.
Oh,
And we
you're
thought
so thoughtful.
maybe we could
Thank
all
you.
sing happy
I
birthday.
appreciate that. Thank you. I told Sandra, no cake. Thank you. That was very thoughtful. Appreciate it. Come on now. Hey. And many more. Yeah. Okay. On Channel 4. Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm serious. My sister-in-law, I don't know what she was thinking. She sent me a huge carrot cake that feeds like 20, and each slice was like 800 calories. And I told Sandra, no cake, please. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I love flowers. So
Good.
I
Good.
really
Hopefully
appreciate
brighten
that.
your
Thank you
home,
all
brighten
very
your
much.
day, your
Okay,
week.
they will. They'll definitely
Good.
brighten my day. So thank you.
Sure. And speaking of Sandra, I want to congratulate Sandra. She successfully completed her recertification requirement for the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. So she will receive her certificate at the election law seminar. It's at the end of January. So congratulations to Sandra. And I also want to thank Sandra for the decoration. She always makes it look so festive in here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate it. I know you've been working a lot on that recertification. I've been watching you, just watching you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so after the last city council meeting, I sent to each of you what I thought was the possible final agenda for the town hall meeting, and I asked for your feedback. I heard back from two of you. I heard back from Councilor Hody that he was fine with the agenda as long as the citizens had time to speak and were heard. And I heard from Councilor Alcacer that she thought one of the items was supposed to include the public works edifice and the possible need for bond or other funding. So I need a consensus from the council if you want to add the public works component and the bond to the agenda. And the place that I see, if you want to do it all together, I just printed the town, here it is. I saw item 6, and what item 6 says is comprehensive analysis of Leon Valley swimming pool, library, annex, and public works department. And it really would have fit in there, right there. Except then we say regarding ADA compliance. So technically it could kind of still fit in there, but we don't say anything about the bond. So I think I just don't have enough information, but we did talk about, you've talked about leveraging funding and bond. We've talked about the public works facility for 3 years now. And so I just need some direction. Do you want Mr., because this is going to be Mr. Dimmeline's baby, and he's going to, Melinda's, okay, and she's going to need some direction. So do you want us to amend item 6, or do you want me just to leave it as it is? Because this needs to be finalized. It needs to be sent to Dr. Romero.
I'm just wondering how much more time is that going to be?
And I'll be happy to amend it, not a problem. I can put ADA and other considerations and just put some funding options for you at the end.
So technically, we could just say regarding ADA compliance and other considerations on our title even, and we would have it. We would be done.
I'm for it.
Okay.
That's fine.
So look at the whole package.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to add on there ADA compliance and other considerations. And Melinda, you don't need an email from me because you know now. Okay, very good. Sandra, I'm going to give this to you so you can amend the town hall agenda, please. Thank you.
Yeah. And Sandra, would you send me that final copy, please? Thank you.
Actually, so the final will be sent to all of you.
Okay, that's fine. I just
okay.
needed to, yeah. And we're still going to send out a postcard with the agenda like we always do?
We will
Okay,
send out a
very good.
postcard, we sure will.
Thank you.
And then you and I, of course, have our meeting January 2nd with Dr. Romero. Reminder, I want to remind everybody about the public meeting regarding State Highway 16 or Bandera Road, which the second one will actually be held in Leon Valley on December the 11th from 5 to 7 at the conference center. And then the first one is on December 10th, if you can't make the Leon Valley one, at, do you say it Brandeis?
Brandeis.
Brandeis High School on Kyle Seal Parkway, same time, 5 to 7, but that one's on December the 10th. So if you cannot attend one of these meetings, the cool thing about the way we've set it up right now is you could also attend it virtually. And what you'd do is you'd go to www.texdot.gov, and then you'd just go up to the little search engine, and the keyword is SH16, so for State Highway 16, Bandera Road. And this information has been placed on their social media, and it'll tell you how to do it virtually. So if you can't make on the 10th or the 11th, the virtual meetings will be open from December 10th to December 31st. And we have this plastered on the city's social media and really hope that Leon Valley citizens participate so we know what you want and how to represent you. I also noticed that the Mayor was just talking about Leon Valley being the first. I noticed I got an email today, I think it was, from ACOG to all the other cities saying, Leon Valley, this is how they did CAG for the plume. Just follow Leon Valley's example and get it done. And so I just wanted to congratulate us for, again, being the first one to do it and for others to follow. So congratulations, Council. We already did the ballot for the appraisal district. I want to thank also the Leon Valley Police Department in particular. Councilor Hody, you were there to help. Councilor Rodriguez was there to help. They sponsored a law enforcement Christmas party for the children of police survivors. It was well attended, and we have a list of all those that were there, but it was a very successful event. There are also going to be a lot of events in the near future that we're either going to be raising funds for, collecting gifts for, wrapping gifts with the seniors for the Blue Santa. So any of those things that you want to be involved in, if you just let me know, let Chief Salvaggio know, we can give you dates and let you know when you can come and help if you're able. And we also usually spend most of our Christmas Eve here doing Blue Santa. We have a party for everybody that is involved with Blue Santa, and we hand out presents and we feed them and they bowl, and it's a lot of fun. Maribel also has the events placed on eNews, and they're also in
Lions
Roar. Thank you.
Really quick, Mayor, City Council, Ms. Kanzler, to interrupt. I think I've sent everyone calendar invites for all of those dates for Blue Santa.
Perfect.
And all the events.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. I also want to take the time to thank the Leon Valley Fire Department. They took the lead this year in our annual food drive. Collectively, we received over 943 pounds of food that, according to, gosh, I can't think of their names. Who does the food drive?
The food bank.
Thank you. I kept on saying food drive, and yes, thank you. But according to the food bank, that's going to provide approximately 737 meals to individuals in need. And I can't believe I couldn't think of the word food bank because we worked that last year, I think. Also, fire recovery costs to date through November are $45,990, almost $46,000. This is a 98% recovery rate by your fire department. So great job, Leon Valley Fire Department back there. The recovery from the fire recovery cost pertains to any accidents that happen in the city of Leon Valley where fire recovery or EMS services were applicable. Want to remind everybody, because it's such a fun event, that Breakfast with Santa is this Saturday from 8 to 10. It is sponsored by the Friends of the Library. This is their primary fundraiser. I'm not going to be here Saturday, so it's going to be the first one that I miss, so I'm kind of bummed about that. I love the auction. There are tickets on pre-sale at the library right now. If you get if you give them $5, you get $6 worth of tickets. But if you buy at the door on Saturday morning, you give them $5 and you get $5 worth of tickets. So if you want to go to the library beforehand, you actually save $1. I also want a huge thank you to Maribel for orchestrating the lighting of the Christmas tree last night. There were a lot of people. There was excellent participation. Thank you, Council, for being there. And a special thank you to Public Works. They make that place look so pretty, and they spend a lot of time on that lighting and the accessorizing of it, of Veterans Park. Thanks to the sponsors, they sponsored drinks and snacks and prizes for kids 12 and under. That was Leon Valley Cafe, Family Community Center, ISC, and Social Cuts. We had the John Marshall Band there, the Leon Valley Elementary Choir, the Patton F. Middle School Band, who all performed. So that was really awesome, which of course brings in all their family and all their parents. And if you notice our monuments, here we go. Thank you again, Public Works. Last year we paid for our monuments, and we just used the same anchors and hooks, and Public Works did them this year, saving us, I don't know, was it like $400, Sandra? More, yeah, okay, $400 a monument. So thank you for saving us money, Public Works, and doing the work and making them look so nice. I only got to see them in the daytime, so last night I was curious, and I went and drove by to go, so they look great. And I believe as Rudy and Danny from Public Works, right? So if you please let them know we mentioned them tonight and that we're all very thankful for that. Last meeting, actually, we're actually meeting with folks, Mayor, you discussed it earlier on the National League of Cities. We're actually meeting with folks right now trying to figure out who to use for our cybersecurity training for staff, because of course state law now requires that training. It's another unfunded mandate, but right now we're looking at doing through DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and possibly UTSA. So we're just kind of getting price quotes from everybody right now. Right now it's ranging in about the 2,000 area to get everybody trained, and you have to do it every year. So I'm hoping, Crystal I thought this was a good idea. She was wondering about her being able to do the training, to go learn it and do the training so that then we could have it for free every year. So that would be really neat. But we are working on that. The other thing I wanted to ask you all about is today is another perfect example. Every meeting when we have the presentations, they always go over an hour. So is everybody okay with me asking Mr. Erkan to come in at 7:00 p.m.? Is that, unless we have an executive session? Is that an issue with anybody?
Not at all.
Okay,
Unless
all
you
right.
want to be here.
Whatever y'all want to do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to save the city money, and there's no need in him sitting here for that.
That's fine.
So, okay, so from this point forward, we'll just do it like that, okay, Habib? Thank you.
And of course, the first time we'll be finished at 6:30.
I know.
It's going to always happen,
Yep.
right?
And if we have to move something around for attorney advice, we can or whatever. But I just think every time the citizens are paying for that, and we don't need legal advice during all those presentations. Last meeting, I discussed with you a succession plan for the city manager's office. I told you I was going to appoint another ACM from pool of directors that applied. We had 3 apply, and we had some really, not only some good ideas, but I love it that how the directors care so much about Leon Valley and how supportive they are of each other. So I can't thank you enough for that. But this is the new organizational chart, and Chief Salvaggio is going to be the other ACM, and he is going to be over fire, police, and planning and zoning. And if you watched Will's presentation tonight, William Cox gave an excellent presentation that I hope everybody understands how hard we're working on the businesses now. But those 3 really, really are working together the way that this administration is set up right now. So it made sense to stick all that together so that they're not operating on their own islands, because we're not operating like that anymore. And so that's the chart as of today. So I've got the organizational chart up there for you. Neither ACM is going to be paid at market level. The primary purpose for this is for solid succession planning. Like I told you, we've got succession planning in every department except for the city manager. And also, I wanted to do it to gather more experience, because we've got about 68% of city managers around the state of Texas right now that are eligible to retire. And so we've all been asked to try to come up, to work with students and to work with our own staff and succession plans and to get people trained. And so I'm just trying to do my part and make certain that there is a succession plan in the city manager's office. So that's what the new chart will look like. And I talked to all of the directors about doing this and had nothing but support. So thank you, directors. And I have one more thing. This was finished. I also, is Ruben around? There he is. You know, these are just some things that I think that you don't know and the community doesn't know, but we're the first city in Bexar County to get FirstNet. We're getting it set up right now. And that is because of Ruben's efforts, your assistant chief back here. And it was really neat because you don't hear it, he doesn't say anything, but you look at this and guess who was a presenter at the International Association of Chiefs of Police? He not only did he go to this conference, but he sat on a panel about FirstNet and implementing it in your community. So at an international event, we have Chief Ruben Saucedo representing Leon Valley being one of the first cities to do FirstNet. And so I just wanted to say congratulations to Ruben because his name's just sitting in here. And it just reminds me again how many times one of you are doing something that make us a first. We constantly see that. And so thank you, Ruben, because this is a big deal, and I really wanted to acknowledge that. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Okay. Any questions from Ms. Kinsler on her city manager's report, either from our counselors or from any of the citizens or guests in our chambers this evening? Okay, I think there's none from the council, but we do have one from our citizen. Good evening and welcome, Ms. Joseph.
Ms. Kessler, could you go back to or I don't know who's controlling that, but the diagram that had the, you can't see it because the lights were so bright.
Oh, okay. Can you pull it up closer, Crystal?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Here you go. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I see. You just wanted to see it closer. Okay, very good. Thank you for that. We need to.
And eventually it'll go on the city's website, Ms. Joseph, and you'll have full access to it. We put them up there. Okay?
All right. So if there's no other questions or comments, then we'll move to citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens in our chambers that would like to address the council at this time? Please come forward and state your name and where you live. And you have 3 minutes, plus if you need a little extra, we'll give it to you. So, hello, Mr. Riddle. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Philip Riddle, and I live on Ruth Sophie. And I'm beginning to feel that my street and my neighborhood is in danger due to the way one of my neighbors is acting. I've reported him 5 times on it for parking on his side yard next to his gas meter. He's already once hit that gas meter and it's had to been replaced, and he continues this behavior. And I am scared he's going to blow up everything. Mm-hmm. And that happens quite normally up in the northern states, where a gas leak in a house will blow up. It'll blow up the houses next to it and across the street and everything. I'm scared. Mm-hmm. This behavior needs to stop with him, or that household. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've reported it on it.
And have you gotten some response back? I'm sure you have.
Not on my last report. I haven't yet.
Okay.
He parks there like on weekends. He'll put his truck over there, mm-hmm. and he's parking between his house and the fence on the side yard next to where his utilities are. And it's a dangerous situation. It is very dangerous. And that's it.
Okay. Council, Mr. Riddle, thank you. If I could direct you to Chief Salvaggio and you guys go talk in the back. Mm-hmm. Because we know that it's in on it, and we just discussed this very situation today.
Yeah, and in the past, we've dealt with him. He knows he's not supposed to be doing it. He's been given a citation. We hadn't done it in a while. I'm kind of surprised he's popping up again. But we sent her out there today. I don't know what Heather found today or conversation with him, but I will let Mr. Riddle know as soon as we have an answer.
Appreciate you following up.
Yes,
thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, then we'll move to announcements by the mayor and council members. Councilor Rodriguez, what would you like to say this evening?
Well, it's nice to see everybody out here. Miss Kinsler already stole my thunder. I was going to talk about the Blue Santa event. Thank you, Chief, for inviting us. It was great to work with you on that day, Mr. Hody. And Mary Bell, yes, thank you to you and Public Works for all the wonderful job you did last night. That's
Okay,
it.
thank you. Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
Yes, I agree about last night, and to give you an idea, the Leon Valley Cafe made 400 churros, and they had 25 gallons of hot chocolate, and all of it was gone before 7 o'clock, and they were trying to come out with more as substitutes, but they didn't give up. It was wonderful. The lighting is unbelievable. If you haven't been there, it's a nice uplifting thing to do every night if you can. Walk through there. I do miss the arch that was there, the lighted arch last year that made for some great Christmas photos, but it still is all beautiful, and even the library cactus was lit up, and it just looks tremendous, and thank you all for that, and thanks for coming tonight. And one little quote of the night from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The movie's out now. It's worth taking the time to see. But one of his noted sayings was the 3 rules of happiness. For happiness, number 1, be nice. Number 2, be nice. Number 3, be nice to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hody.
Good evening, everyone. I was speaking with one of the citizens last night at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and she said that we sure look serious up here, and so I'm going to make a concerted effort to do a little more smiling, and so that we don't look so scary. And she may or may not be here this evening. I don't know. I attended the CPAC meeting in November, and what were you saying about Earth Day? It's 50 years old
50
now?
years, in April.
No, I don't remember the first one.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. And then the party at the conference center for the families who lost a family member in the line of duty as a peace officer was very humbling, I guess. I got more out of it than I thought that I would. And it was great to see the kids, at least for a while. Some of them it's been a while, some of it's fairly recent. And I think the most recent one was there, as I understand it. And it was really nice seeing them running around and having fun. You can only imagine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Bradshaw.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. I guess in the effort of being more happy and spreading some joy, I just returned from Israel for work, and I actually worked out a deal with Israel between Leon Valley and Israel that they won't bomb us and we won't bomb them. It's the Leon Valley Israel Arms Reduction Act. LIAR for short. No, in all seriousness though, I was able to go home. I got back in time to go home for Thanksgiving, and while I was visiting family for Thanksgiving, I got a call from my neighbor was watching my dogs and found out that the dogs actually got out of the gate, and fortunately I was able to contact some neighbors, and they put together a search party and went around looking through the neighborhood, and through the miracle of the internet, we saw that the dogs were located, and they were able to go and pick them up, and nothing, no harm came to them. So I'm thankful for good neighbors and good friends and good family. And if you haven't yet, at this time of Thanksgiving, especially that just passed, take a moment to reflect on the things that we're thankful for. And I know I haven't contributed to the Blue Santa effort yet, but I do have some toys that I need to contribute that I'll be donating soon. So thank you again for coming.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, well, I'm always the last to go, but yes, thank you again for the wonderful event last night, Maribel and Public Works and all the city staff. It was excellent, and yes, I was speaking to Ruth last night, and she said, we've been running out of hot chocolate for they said this was their third year to do it, and she was determined not to run out of hot chocolate. And so then the churros were an added, and she really enjoyed the festivities, and that everybody really loved those churros because she didn't have any left over. I didn't get one, that's for sure. But anyway, let's see. The Blue Santa, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Blue Santa, so hopefully I'll be able to participate on some of those. And please, please, please try to come to the Bandera Road workshop next week or online, as Ms. Kinsler was sharing, so that we can have a community-wide consensus of what we want Bandera Road to look like in the future. We handed out last night tips for an ecological Christmas, and I think there's some out there, but if not, they're at the library. But as you know, we are contaminating our recycling, and so just keep in mind, when in doubt, throw it out. So like ribbons and anything with glitter on has to go into the trash, and you're going to get a lot of that for Christmas. So anyway, if you can pick up tips and follow it, that would be great, just to help reduce. We did get an email this evening, 5:07, from County Commissioner Justin Rodriguez, and they have a consent agenda item on this evening for an in-kind grant, which the staff is recommending that we provide for Commissioner Rodriguez's Christmas party, and he has it here. When he was the state rep, he always had it here too. So he wanted to say thank you. They are unfortunately cannot be here tonight, but they love Leon Valley Community Center. They love, everything about it. They didn't say it was dumpy. So anyway, they're renting it or partially renting it. But let me just conclude by reading from his chief of staff. We appreciate the mayor and city council's consideration of our request for an in-kind grant for this event. Again, we wish we could be there in person to express just how special this event is to the commissioner and the community. Thank you for your consideration. We hope all of you will celebrate the holiday season with us on December 18th at the community center, so everyone's invited to attend his event. So thank you for that. Okay. Then moving on to the consent agenda, we have several consent agenda items, 7, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is there anyone on the dais that would like to pull any of the consent agenda items for discussion? Okay, seeing no one, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we adopt items 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with a few minor changes corrections, not changes that I have forgot to give you, Sandra, if that's acceptable.
I'll second.
All right, excuse me, is that on the minutes?
Yes,
okay, on the minutes. Okay, changes with the minutes. Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to adopt consent agenda item 1.1 through 1.5 as presented, with the addition of some suggested changes by Ms. Alcacer on the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving to agenda item number 8, ordinance. This is our second read. Ms. Pasolé, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council amending Appendix A, Fee Schedule, Article A 13.000, Zoning Administrative Fees, establishing planned development district zoning request fees, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Milan. Are there any updates on this particular ordinance?
No, ma'am, no updates.
Okay, no changes. All right, any further questions or comments on agenda number 8.1? And if not, may I have a motion and a second to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 8.1 as written.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. We have a motion by Counselor Hodey and a second by Counselor Bradshaw to approve ordinance 8.1 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to the regular agenda, continued, agenda item 9.1, presentation, discussion, and public hearing to consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2020 Leon Valley Park, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. We have our Public Works Director, Melinda Moritz, here to present. Good evening and welcome. I know you've spent a lot of time on this with the Park Commission, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Park Commission Chairman, Roger Christensen, was not available to be here tonight. He's a little under the weather.
Okay.
So the purpose is to hold a public hearing and consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2020 Parks, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. The Park Commission is tasked with performing periodic reviews of the plan. The last review was performed in 2014. Since that time, the city's added 4 new pocket parks and have designated a portion of the Heebner Onion Natural Area Park as reserved for future public use, that being the Triangle area. In addition, the 2 pools and the trails have also been added to the plan. The Park Commission worked on this plan since last year to not only recommend future improvements to these areas, but also added guidance related to social, environmental, and economic trends. And this plan will be used in future years to direct the staff on budgeting, expansion, maintenance, and operations, and to apply for grants from agencies such as the Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife and the National Parks and Recreation Association. The Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife actually requires that a city have a plan prior to applying for a grant from them. The notable changes, we added an overview, provided a history section that's been expanded, added a mission statement and expanded those goals and objectives to be broader, added community trends, expanded our demographics, added pictures of each park, and then listed the equipment that are at each one of the parks. We added aerial photos. We revised the recommendations for all park zones, and that was based on the 2018 park survey, which is also in the plan. We added the city park ordinance. We revised the park zone maps to include the new parks. And then we changed the time period for major reviews from 4 years to 5 years with yearly minor reviews in between. There's no fiscal impact at this time. Any future costs due to the planned improvements would be recommended by the Park Commission and then send those on to the City Council for final approval. Each improvement will be budgeted during fiscal year budget reviews. At their October 10th meeting, the Park Commission recommended approval of the plan. The plan was placed on the internet, and we have got comments already, which I was pretty impressed by. A couple of those being provide safe pedestrian crosswalk between Pavona Place neighborhood to the park at the intersection of Heebner Road and Pavona Ridge. So that would be the Linkwood Trail. They want us to expand that. Provide greater accessibility to the Silo Park by providing parking spaces. I don't know where we're going to fit them in, but we'll take that to the Park Commission. And then a lot more on the Linkwood Trail. Begin to develop it. This place has some shade trees. Improve the access. And then some more comments. Put pictures of the new pavilion at the Ridge at Leon Valley Park in the plan. And then strong support of several components of the park master plan. A splash pad, a dog park, and a park for Linkwood. As a homeowner in Linkwood with a young child and 2 dogs, I would love to have these amenities and would use them frequently. I hope Leon Valley can make these a high priority for development soon. And then the last comments I got was from someone from Forest Oaks. The plan does not call for updates to the clubhouse party room or the outdoor picnic area. I believe that if these 2 areas were updated and revitalized, more people would request to rent the areas out. Then it goes on a little more. So having it on the internet is really working, getting some comments back from people. And if they're relevant to the future of what's going on with our parks, we will absolutely, I'll make a recommendation to the Park Commission to insert them in the plan.
Okay.
And so the plan now is to take it back to them if there's any more public comments, but if not, we'll bring it back to the City Council for final approval of the resolution at your January 7th meeting.
Oh, okay.
It just gives people more time to do more
Okay.
comments. And so that's all I have. Does anybody have any
We do have a dog park planned for the Shadow Mist Park, correct? So that is on, for those of the lady that,
for the Crystal Hills Park, not for the Shadow Mist Park.
That's right.
The Shadow Mist Park's in Leon Valley, and that one we're going to do the
oh,
cooperative
that's right,
parking.
that's right.
And then you had talked about possibly putting a skate park, because we still have a little bit of land left over at the Shadow
Well, I
Mist
think we
Park.
said skate bowl was our responsibility, right, Ms. Kinsler? And
Then Crystal
and
Hills
the-
would have the dog park. And
that's right. I keep forgetting it's a partnership between the city of San Antonio and us. But we will. I mean, it does. There is a dog park there.
Planned, yes.
Right, planned. The only time I can remember in the last many years that we received a grant from the Texas Parks and Wildlife is for that trail behind Stirrup.
Yes.
Did we ever get any other grants from the Texas Parks and Wildlife?
Yes, you actually got a grant for the children's playground over at Raymond Rimkus Park. That was part of a CDBG grant, though.
Okay. Yeah, CDBG, but that was not Texas
No, it
Parks
was
and
not.
Wildlife. Okay. And we have never gotten a national Parks and Wildlife grant, have
Not
we?
to my knowledge.
Okay, very good. All right,
So we'll be
great.
hitting them up for money soon.
We will, definitely. Okay. Are there any other questions from my colleagues? Yes, Counselor Bradshaw.
You have one question. On Silo Park, how much of the property is owned by the city? The silos themselves owned by the city and?
Yes,
area?
actually, that just happened too. The 1.5 acres that surrounds the silos themselves was
Right.
just recently deeded to the city. And then the other side has actually 3 acres, but only like 1.8 is usable because it has that creek running through it. But we do own that little creek.
The reason I ask, I'm just curious because I drive by there every day on my way to work and back. And are the silos like structurally sound? Is there any plan to take them down, or they're good? Is there any plans to
They're
paint
not only
them?
good, but the park commission, and I've been meaning to bring it to council, and I will, they want me to bring to y'all putting murals on them.
I think that's a great idea. That was kind of my point. I could kind of picture putting some kind of murals, making them like a photo destination, and maybe planting bluebonnets in the front or something like that.
You need to be on the park commission because they want a big old blue bonnet on one of them.
There you go. Me. All right, thank
And
you.
then other people want murals on our water tower, so I'm going to be muraling y'all out pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. If there's no other questions from my colleagues, then I'll open up the public hearing at approximately 8:10 in the evening and ask for comment on this agenda item, approving our Leon Valley Parks, Recreation Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. This is our public hearing, and then I believe I heard you say that on January 7th will be our second. Well, it's not a second read. It's not a second read, but we'll approve it then. Okay. Okay, I think I take it by your silence that everything is hunky-dory and we all love the plan, right? Then I'll close the public hearing at 8:10 as well, or 8:11. All right, thank you. So we'll move then to agenda item 9.2, and Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council amending the City of Leon Valley, Texas municipal budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $1,659,482. That's a big number. It's hard to say. $1,659,482. With 15%. Sorry, it's late. 15% for contingencies from the Stormwater and Economic and Community Development Fund balances to provide funding for the stormwater budget for Seneca West subdivision drainage project for drainage improvements, and to authorize the city manager to enter into interlocal agreement with Bear County for a reimbursement grant in the amount of $1,346,000 for said project, providing for repealer severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. I know it is just Tuesday, but hey, that's okay. Thank you so much for that. I know you read those words all the time, severability and effective date. I mean, so we should be dreaming. Here you go. All right, so we have our Public Works Director Melinda Moritz here to present, and welcome back.
And this is to consider approval of a budget adjustment in the amount of $1,346,000 with 15% for contingency from the Stormwater Fund Reserve and $313,482 from the Economic and Community Development Fund, and that's actually project funding, not a reserve, for a total of $1,659,482, and to authorize the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with Bexar County to accept a reimbursement grant funding in the amount of $1,346,000 for the Seneca West subdivision drainage remediation project. This property is approximately 21 acres of vacant land owned by the city and bounded by AIDS, Samaritan, Grass Hill, and William Rancher roads. So the city owns the 21 acres over there, which is eventually to be sold. The residents of that area have requested that the property be rezoned or developed as residential estate lots, and those have a minimum lot area of 1 acre. Due to the floodplain, floodway, and then other development requirements and market feasibility, it will be difficult for a developer to purchase and develop the land as 1 acre lots and make a profit as it sits right now. The city has previously received requests from developers to change the zoning of that land to R6 Garden Home, which has a small lot size of 4,500 square feet. All those zoning requests were denied by City Council as requested by the residents in that area. The city has been informed by the developers that there's not enough of a profit margin in lots larger than 4,500 square feet due to improvements needed and the housing market that's within 3 miles of this site. So recently, we got a grant from Bexar County in the amount of $1.346 million to assist us in constructing a flood channel in that area. If we perform these improvements, developing the lots will become a little bit more economically feasible for a developer, as it's going to reduce the flooding in the area and then downstream, and it also affects one homeowner over there. And these are the properties to be sold, and you can see AIDS Drive, Samaritan, and Grass Hill. And this is the ridge at Leon Valley Park right here. This is Hebner Creek. So developers' requirements, they have to pay yearly property taxes and insurance. They'll have to replat it into individual lots and build homes. They'll have to reconstruct streets to extend Seneca to Samaritan. They'll have to abandon AIDS Drive and then widen William Rancher, Grass Hill, and Samaritan. They'll have to construct drainage improvements if we don't do it, construct curbs and sidewalks, pay impact fees, construct the water and sewer laterals to each one of the lots, and then install all the water meters, valves, corporations, and I think there are going to be a couple of fire hydrants as well. And then they're also required by our subdivision code to dedicate not less than 1/2 acre of parkland, with the smallest dimension being 140 feet, or pay the city the amount as required by ordinance. So it's a lot. New batteries. So this is the proposed plat of the property right now for sale. And this is the Ridge Park over here. This is Samaritan Drive. This is Grass Hill Drive. And this is a potential layout, and which is hard to see on here, this is only 16 lots. Any developer that comes in is going to have a different idea. This was just the quickest way to lay out what 1 acre lots looks like. If the developer sells it to the builder, then the builder is going to have to purchase the lots from the developer, pay the yearly taxes and insurance, build the custom homes, create the HOA, and then market the properties and wait for any sales. So there's risk on both sides. So this is the flood map, and this shows the property. Here's Samaritan, here's the Ridge Park over here, and you can see that the flooding goes straight through the middle of it and then actually has outbound flooding on this. So all of this property right now cannot be built on. And this shows you the drainage area map. So here's Hebner Creek down here. Here's your Ridge Park here. This creek right through the property here is taking all the water. This water drains into a detention pond here, but then eventually runs out and runs down. This water here drains into this detention pond here and then runs out and runs down. So that's why this area of this property is so inundated. So this shows you we had a flood study done FEMA had lost the original hydraulic models for this drain. This is considered drain 1. And so we actually had the study done, and this shows you the full extent of the flooding. And this is option 1 that we received from the engineer. We could go ahead and put in 700 foot of concrete pipe structure to go under the road. But as you can see, it doesn't reclaim a lot of the property. It takes this back, but we're still got a problem here. And this is option 2. This is a 4x4 box culverts at AIDS Drive. And basically, we got the same problem. All it does is open this road up during a flood. And then this is the one we propose, option 3. It actually channelizes the entire flow all the way down, goes under AIDS Drive with box culverts, and then down into Hebner Creek, which reclaims all of that property now. There are some additional service that may or may not be needed. We may have to apply for a conditional letter of map revision and a letter of map revision at the end of the project. There'll be some geotechnical engineering. There may be environmental. I didn't see any wetlands over there, but it's been wet the whole time, so you can't tell. Historical resources, I'm not sure about that. There's an old house up there that's falling down. I don't know the condition of that property. So some of this or all of it may be needed. And so here's your fiscal impact, and as you can see, option 3 came out to $1,346,000, and then with the engineering, it's $191,132. The additional services is $122,350. So our recommendation is to fund option 3. With Bear County's help, they're going to donate the $1,346,000. So because we have money in reserve, we can't spend it. It has to be moved over to the expenditure side, which is why we need the budget adjustment. Once they put the money in, I have no mechanism of getting it out and actually spending it unless there's a budget adjustment. The Economic and Community Development Committee, we took this to them, and they recommended approval of the budget adjustment as well. This is the next steps. So if it's approved, we'll have to obtain the necessary easements from property owners, engineer and design the project, and advertise for bids, and then construct the drainage improvements. We'll approve the plat of the property with the new drainage easements and then offer it for sale. And then we'll have to work with the buyer on the development of the lots, because while this takes out the flooding component of it, it does not take out the roadway construction component of it. We do have a plan for widening Grass Hill because we do own all the property on one side of Grass Hill, and so it would be our responsibility as developer of those lots to assure that side is done. So that's about $600,000 worth of work that would take off of this developer having to have done. So we can get there eventually. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I sure do. Let's see. I just thought I heard you say that we're the developer?
For our side of Grass Hill.
For our side of Grass Hill. But what would be the cost to the developer of all those requirements that you listed? Do you have any idea? Is that going to scare some people, scare a developer away? Because it's...
Scared me.
Yeah, I just was thinking, wow, that's a lot of... Seems like it's a lot.
$600,000 for the widening of Grass Hill because it also... Let me show you this picture here. Right here is an inadequate box culvert across Grass Hill. And so we own all this property on this side. And this also needs to be widened in order to match the portion of Grass Hill that's up here. It's a 60-foot wide right-of-way, and it drops down to like 20 foot through here. And so you've got a lot of vacant, undeveloped property back here. In order to get from there to there and do really good development in the city, you're going to want to match that up. So on this side here, some of this side is improved, some of it is not. The Good Samaritan Nursing Home was required to put in a sidewalk and a curb along this side, and we did get some right-of-way dedication in here, but it's never been developed. On this side over here with William Rancher, this side of the street is developed. It's got curbs. This side does not, and it's inadequate right-of-way through here. And, of course, AIDS Drive's totally undeveloped. It's totally inadequate, and it doesn't line up with Seneca up here. So you're probably looking at $2 to $3 million worth of improvements just in roadways.
Okay. Do we have this property? We don't have this property up for sale yet, right?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Okay.
It's not been platted. We
It's
need
not
to
been
do that
platted, so
before.
that's coming, okay. And then would you explain how this all came about? We got a
I think
call.
it was you.
Right, I got a call from Commissioner Rodriguez, who asked, do we have drainage projects that the county could help funding with? And I said, oh, I think I called you. You were at home with your
Yes.
sick dog, I think. I remember it was a Thursday because I was at my granddaughter's dance class, and so I always remember that. But did you end up sending him like 4 or 5 projects?
I sent him all of the flood projects that we
Okay.
had talked about at the town hall meeting. And the
Okay.
reason he had to pick this one is because it's in his precinct.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Because I remember, I didn't know how this one eventually, but it was the only one, I think, in Precinct 2, because we are also in Precinct 3. We've got 2 commissioners that represent Leon Valley.
I would have been happy with Monte Robles Park, which would have been cheaper, but it's not in his district. So.
Right. So I thank Commissioner Rodriguez for his generosity in supporting our flood control needs. Do we have to do this? This is recommended to do first before we take the next steps, right?
Of platting the property?
Well, no, correcting this drainage. Does it have to be done first?
You could have left this up to the developer to do, but with the cost of this is already at 1.6 million.
Yeah.
And then you add on the 3 million in streets.
Right.
It would make the lots, they would have to sell for almost $200,000 a piece. And
The
you
lots?
don't, yes, and you
Oh,
don't
wow.
have that market here. Developers expect to get 20% profit. They're the ones taking the risks. They're the ones having to hold on to the property, pay the taxes, do all that stuff. And so the general going rate in San Antonio in the local area is 20% for the developer.
Okay.
So
So this will
knock
be
that off.
this will knock it off, be an incentive for a developer to come in.
Right, and
Okay.
then as soon as we, I'll come back next year to put in the budget, not a budget adjustment, but just put in there the 600,000 to redo Grass Hill Road.
Okay.
Y'all will have to make a decision about
All right. And so I thought Ms. Green said she was going to, and I didn't see it in the agreement, but I thought she said she was going to give the city 3 years to complete this. Is that what you understood? Complete this? That's what I was asking, when and how long.
I
and
didn't see that in the agreement.
I didn't see that either, but she had said that to me, that she was going to put it in the agreement that we complete it within 3 years, because she thought that was a reasonable, with
Yeah,
weather and
sure.
all this other stuff. I mean, look at the Bear
I
County.
think she was basing that on her project.
On her project of the flood control, yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, so I wanted to know more about the financing. So the 1.3 is coming from the stormwater?
Yes, ma'am. And Stormwater has about an $800,000 budget balance right now. But when we start this project, we'll be requesting reimbursement from Bear County quarterly. And so you'll just constantly be making up that pot. You will not be taking your reserve down to zero. You'll be putting right back that money. The $313,000 is going to come from the economic development funding, project funding line item.
Okay. So we're not taking it from the general fund. It's the stormwater
Yes, ma'am.
that's handling it, and then we get reimbursed. It's a reimbursable grant. Okay.
All but the $313,000.
Exactly. Okay. Oh, I had, what homeowner is affected? Is that the homeowners on AIDS?
On AIDS
Because
Drive.
they're on the very end of the
They're the
of the
receiving
project.
end of the
Yeah,
water.
that's what I was figuring. Okay. All right. Very good. 122,350. You said that you didn't know. You're just guesstimating that cost, so we won't know that until you actually get into the nitty-gritty of the project. That
Yes,
oh, there's not a historical thing. There's not a environmental.
Right.
Okay, so we won't know that figure until. So we could be saving a little bit of money
It could
from
be.
the
I'm hoping.
ED/CD fund. Okay, that's all I was wondering. Any other questions for Ms. Moritz on this? Yes, Councilor Hody.
I know this is probably nothing compared to everything else, but on the grass line channel, would that ultimately be Leon Valley's issue, and is it of any concern to you?
It would be an easement through their property. So the property owner would still own it. It would just be a drainage easement through there. It's not like a named creek. And I'm hoping it's not a waters of the United States either, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Any questions or comments from our citizens and guests in our chambers? Again, we're very, very grateful for Bear County and their generosity to help us with this project. Just want to thank them again. So this is a first read, so we will move on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we don't need a vote on this one to move it to the 17th. Is that correct? Okay. So as per the managers, if there's no objection, then 9.3, as requested by Mr. Milan, will be moved to December 17th, 2019. So then we'll move to agenda item, what's on my packet as 9.4.
Excuse me.
Is that correct?
I believe I need a motion to postpone.
Do we need a motion
To move it?
to move it? That's what I just asked,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Said no. He said he didn't.
If the mayor
Okay.
is moving it, unless someone objects, I don't believe you need a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll then, as my understanding from Ms. Kinsler, we needed to reorder the rest of the agenda item on number 9. So 9.4 now becomes 9.5. 9.5 now becomes 9.6, and 9.6 now becomes 9.4.
That's
Do I have
correct,
that
Mayor.
correct?
Mhm, that's
Okay,
correct.
so we need to take 9.4 first, and I believe, would you give me the reason again? Because I know Ms. Alcacer caught it and we didn't catch it.
And so 9.4 is the
Uh-huh.
comprehensive plan. And so what you're doing is, you should hear the comprehensive plan before you hear the zoning change or the other case.
Very good. Okay, so we're on the right page here, just so everybody knows why we did the moving, and thank you for that clarification. So Ms. Posley, if you'll please read the new 9.4, which is the old 9.6?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I
An
appreciate
ordinance
it.
an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, amending ordinance 2018-08, revising previously established land use designations on the future land use plan of the City of Leon Valley Comprehensive Master Plan on approximately 2.4 acres generally located on the north side of Grissom Road, approximately 900 feet west of Poss Road, from retail multiple family, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome, Mr. Milan. If you'll please begin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the first of 3 actions tonight associated with the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection, which is located at 6011 Grissom Road, just west of Poss Road. Just a little bit of background. I'll make this brief. You know, as a result of the St. John Baptist zoning change request that Council considered about a year ago, it came to staff's attention that there were several churches throughout Leon Valley that were currently considered legally non-conforming. And so during that process, you know, several of those churches came to the city council meeting and expressed concern over that situation. And at that time, you know, staff stated that we'd be working with each of those churches to determine if there was a path forward for a zone change to become fully conforming, and you know, ready to assist with that when they were ready to move forward. And so the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection is the first of those churches to come forward. I've been working with their director, Mr. Bill Craig. He's here this evening, and I'm sure he'll probably want to speak. So we've been working together for several months, and we have been able to come up with a solution for the Lutheran Church to move forward. So really, in my opinion, you know, the actions that we're working on tonight are really housekeeping actions to go ahead and correct the issue. As I mentioned, not all churches within Leon Valley that are legally non-conforming may have a path forward. You know, we always look to our comprehensive plan to determine if there's a path forward, and that's what we've done here, and there is a path forward. So in a case like this, they're requesting a zone change. They're currently zoned B2, and they're within the sustainability overlay. And as you know, institutional uses are not permitted in the B2 district by right. They're only permitted in the B3 district, the R3 district, R3A district, R4 district, and R5 district. We changed the code last year to provide more flexibility for institutional uses, changing the code to allow them in the R3, R4, and R5 districts. So they're currently B2, and they are requesting a zone change to R3, which is our multiple family district. Well, that is a feasible zone change in staff's opinion. We're recommending approval of it. That's our next action. However, our comprehensive master plan states that this property is intended for retail purposes. So we have a conflict. You know, state law says that zone changes need to follow. If a city has a comprehensive master plan and if the city has a future land use plan, then they need to follow that. And so that's why we need to take this action first. Staff's recommending approval of the zone change, but we need to go back and amend our comprehensive plan first. And so staff is recommending approval of this future land use plan change as well. So I did what I always do. I kind of go through my PowerPoint without changing the slides. So let me skip right to the map. So you can see this is our current City of Leon Valley future land use plan map. You can see the property right there. It's red. Red is retail. So staff is recommending that that be changed to multiple family. And staff is recommending this change because it does not think that this change will be detrimental to any of the surrounding existing uses. Staff also finds that this change would be compatible with the existing surrounding, specifically compatible with the immediately adjacent surrounding future land use classification. This is Barcelona Lofts and the Valencia Lofts. That's what surrounds the property. So obviously changing the classification of this property from B2 to R3 would be consistent with what is directly next to this property. And so what this change would allow is for, obviously it would allow for a zone change to our R3 district, which would allow for apartments. But as I mentioned, our zoning code also allows for institutional uses in the R3. So with that, you know, that again, yes ma'am. Did you have a question?
Would you go back to the map, please? I thought while you were on the map, I'd ask you, that little red slice right next to the church, what is that?
That is a little sliver that belongs to the Valencia Lofts property.
Oh, he wanted to develop that as a mix, as a retail outlet, I think.
Right.
Coffee shop or something, and that's his, he owns that.
He owns that, yes, ma'am.
But it's not developed?
That's part of their development.
Okay.
So,
but there's nothing developed there yet.
it's part of their, there's a small portion of the apartment development that is on that property. I think there's a building that's partially on that, and then most of it's just road.
Okay.
Access to his property.
just-
So he could potentially develop that.
Okay,
He's
thank
kind of,
you.
he's pinched on space there, but, so yeah.
Right. So in this case, the church is right next to an apartment, so this is a perfect zone change, because if in the future the church, went away, but I'm sure it won't, then it's right there around the R3, so this is a good example.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yeah.
and churches, definitely,
Mhm.
my opinion, churches are wonderful uses to be near, multiple family
Okay.
apartment complexes, particularly this one, which has a daycare as well, which is definitely,
Right.
people need daycares, and so we'll be talking about that with the SUP. So definitely staff recommends approval of this future land use plan amendment to facilitate the subsequent zone change item that we'll be discussing.
Thank you very much. Let me see if there's any other questions from my colleagues on this particular agenda item. All right, we do have a public hearing, and I will open up the public hearing at 8:37. Does anyone in our chambers want to comment on this particular amendment of our future land use plan? Okay. Seeing no one, then we'll close the public hearing at 8:37. And since this is our first read, this will be on for adoption at the 12/17/19 meeting, the next city council meeting. So thank you.
Okay.
All right, then we move back to your agenda item 9.4, which is now our new agenda item 9.5. And Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council granting a specific use permit for a child care facility.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to interrupt you. We need to go to the zone change is the next one.
Oh, that was 9-4. It's not 9-4. It wasn't 9-4.
Well, that's,
Okay, that's how we
Did I give you the wrong
actually
number? Okay, I'm sorry. The zone
That's how we
change has
remembered
to
it.
come.
So now you want the zone change
Yes, ma'am.
first? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. My-
okay,
if
so
I gave
we're,
you the wrong number. My
so I'm
apologies.
sorry. We're taking 9.5, which we thought was 9.6, and now that's it's 9.5.
There you go. That's exactly right.
Okay, hello. So
And
forget that.
9.4 becomes 9.6.
Okay, there we go.
That's gonna be
9.6. All these reorderings, I'm sorry. Okay,
my
so,
apologies.
Ms. Posley, I apologize. It's now going to be 9.5, the regular 9.5 you're going to go ahead and read.
Okay.
So, as per Mr. Milan's request.
Okay. Okay. An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council granting a zone change from B2 Retail District with, so South, okay, I'm sorry.
That's the acronym for the sustainability overlay
Okay, with
district.
so Sustainability Overlay District zoning to R3 Multifamily District with so Sustainability District Overlay, that's the way it's written, sorry. The way it's written. District Overlay District zoning on approximately 2.40 acres, generally located at 6011 Grissom Road, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
When we create our new zoning code, we won't come up with acronyms for zoning districts that are actual words.
So are you saying I don't need it?
So one benefit of, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, please. Excuse me, we were talking about public hearings, so I'll ask our city attorney. Would you like to make it now? Okay. I'm sorry.
No, I'm on items 3 and 4. I would ask that we would go back and just open the public hearings and because, I'm sorry. What I was saying is items 3 and 4, which will not be read tonight. I would ask that we go back and open the public hearings since the public hearings were advertised and let members of the public have an opportunity to speak.
But the only one that wasn't heard tonight, that's not going to be heard, is item 3.
My apology. Then item 3.
Item 3 only.
Yeah, just the public hearing
Okay.
part.
Well, the item 3, is that the SUP for,
Yeah, we'll
Daughter-
get
For
we'll
Grissom
get back
Road.
to that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what was my conversation was about. So.
okay. Okay, yeah, happy to talk about that one a little bit more. So for this zone change, whenever you have a situation where you have a zone change that requires a future land use plan amendment, we have most of the discussion during the future land use plan amendment, so it makes the discussion about the zone change a little bit easier. So I already kind of introduced this zone change. They're requesting a zone change from B2. The property is currently zoned B2 Retail District with Sustainability Overlay District zoning, and they're requesting a zone change to R3 Multiple Family Dwelling District with Sustainability Overlay District zoning. That will allow them to have a church, have an institutional use, have their church be considered legally conforming, which means they can expand if they wish. They can rebuild if some sort of active nature occurred there. So here's the site. As we were talking about, here's that little sliver that you pointed out, Mayor. That's still considered retail on the future land use map. And so here's their property. They've been there for some time. And you have the Barcelona lofts and then the Valencia lofts surrounding. And then you have Leon Valley Storage just to the south, and you have some other commercial uses, Miracle Paint and Body, and then you have the middle school just to the west. Here's a street view. Everybody's probably familiar with that site. Drive past it quite a bit. I already gave a background, so I'll go ahead and skip through that. And it just the background is they're legally non-conforming because of a code amendment. We made some changes to our zoning code back in 2007, and so that was one of the changes that institutional uses were relegated to the B3 district. So that's when this church and several other churches throughout Leon Valley were made legally non-conforming. And so, let's see, there we go. And like I said, the Lutheran Church is the first of these churches to reach out to staff to develop a resolution. And so as with any zoning case, when you look at that zone change, we look at several different factors. Definitely look at compatibility with surrounding uses and surrounding zoning districts. We look at conformance with the city's future land use plan, which we just discussed, and now it's potentially in conformance with the future land use plan. And we also look at what kind of precedent are we setting here as well. And so there's a zoning map. Looks a lot like our future land use map, as we've discussed. Surrounding zoning is B3, R3, and a little bit of B2. A zone change to R3 is compatible with surrounding zoning and not detrimental to any surrounding zoning. And therefore, staff is recommending that this request be approved because it's compatible. And it's in conformance with the comprehensive master plan. Now, there is, the plan does indicate retail is encouraged at this location. So the future land use map had the property indicated as retail as red. And so, when I look at the comprehensive plan, I not only look at the future land use plan, but we also look at the written goals and statements within the plan. We have a section about Grissom Road that specifically addresses these properties, and it says retail at this location is encouraged. So that's definitely something to look at. Not ignoring that, but at the same time, we have an existing facility that was built. In my opinion, that facility is not going to redevelop for some time. And so definitely retail is encouraged, but is it feasible? I don't think it's feasible at this location for some time, just based on the fact I don't think it's going to redevelop, and also based on the nature of that building. It's designed to be a church. It can't be anything else. It's limited in what it could be in the future functionally. So that's why we looked at that, but definitely still recommending approval of this based on the difficulty in implementing that aspect of the plan. So there's our future land use map again. Just kind of rotated a little bit to show you guys. Again, also, we're looking at precedent. Are we setting any kind of precedent with this zone change? No, staff does not think that we're setting any kind of negative precedent with this. The church is a compatible use with other R3 district uses. And like I said, the church facility is architecturally and functionally designed for use as a church and cannot be practically used for really any other purposes than the facility right now. So that's why staff's recommending approval of this zone change. And there's a C Leon Valley statement consistent with social equity, economic development, and environmental stewardship. And also the Zoning Commission considered this at the November 25th meeting and recommended unanimous approval. So.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know if there's any comments or questions from my colleagues on the dais on this particular zone change request. Okay, this is the first reading. Mr. Craig, I'd just like to say good evening and welcome. Did you have any comments or questions on this particular agenda item? I know, I believe you sat through our St. John's hearings last year, so I'm really happy to see us kind of coming full circle to see how we can meet your church's needs.
Okay, so I'm Bill Craig. I'm president of the congregation at Lutheran Church of the Resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a presence in Leon Valley for almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
When our current building was constructed in the early 1980s,
mm-hmm.
we were Zone B2 retail.
Mm-hmm.
And then while we were busy doing our church thing, somebody moved our cheese. And
there you go.
We were no longer conforming in B2.
Right.
And didn't even know about it until the issue came up with St. John last year when they were wanting to change their zoning. Brandon has been great to work with over the last year. We've been trying to figure out how can we be good citizens mm-hmm. and perform, play right with the city.
Mm-hmm.
And this seems like the most logical, as he mentioned, housekeeping mm-hmm. maneuver to bring us into conforming status and be in compatibility with the surrounding properties. So, and I guess while I'm here, I'll talk out of turn and talk about the next issue, which is the sure. specific use for the child care.
The daycare.
Because mm-hmm. they are currently conforming in the B2 zoning. Uh-huh. But if we change it to R3, they're no longer they're no longer conforming. R3 requires or restricts childcare to 6 children. So this specific use permit would allow that childcare facility to continue to operate as they have for the past 20 years or so.
Okay.
So I'll make all my comments here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you so much for those comments. Okay, we do have a public hearing on this particular zone change issue, and at this time it's 8:47. I'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's any citizen or resident or guest that would like to comment on this particular agenda item. Please come forward. Okay, we have a very quiet citizenry this meeting. All right, so then we will close this public hearing at 8:47. And again, the second read will be at the next City Council meeting, which is December 17th, 2019.
Mayor,
Yes,
Mayor,
sir.
may I
Yes, you may.
discuss item 3? Thank you, Mayor. The action, well, the action item number 3 has been removed from the agenda. Which is all fine and good, and what I was remiss when I advised you could do that to address the public hearing. The public hearing is statutorily required, and there was a notice in the paper about the public hearing, correct?
We're talking about the SUP for 63 or 6306?
Right.
So the reason why I'm requesting that not be considered tonight is because it wasn't properly noticed.
Okay.
And so what we did is usually we do a double notice.
I'm
and
sorry,
so I send it out at the same time.
Could have visited with you first.
No, no
Because I
worries.
just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that we didn't have someone here that wanted to
Yeah.
speak on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I send out notice for the newspaper at the same, we usually send out a notice
Right.
on the same, in the same publication for zoning commission and council, and the zoning commission tabled it, so it threw off my notice for council, and then, and so I'm having to do I did a separate notice for that one for the 17th, so that's why. But thanks for pointing it out.
So we're good for 9.3 in the public hearing.
I have a notice to worry about.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're finished with 9.5, and we're going to go back then to 9.4, which is the new 9.6, which is the SUP for a place for kids childcare. So Mr. Milan, if you'll please, Ms. Postlev, if you'll please read that ordinance, excuse me, and then Mr. Milan. 9.4, which is our new 9.6. Yes, that's right.
Okay. You sure, Brandon?
I'm sure on this.
Okay.
It's my last one. So.
All right. An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council granting a special use permit for child care facility on approximately 2.40 acres, generally located at 6011 Grissom Road, providing for repeal or severability and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
If you'll
you, Mayor
please
and Council.
continue.
Mr. Craig made my job easy on this one. He already introduced it, and so this, again, like I said, this is a housekeeping item. They're currently allowed to have the child care facility. The distinguishment in the code is that you can have a child care facility in the B2 district, and it can be as many kids as you want, provided it meets fire code and other development regulations. But in the R3 district, a child care facility is limited to only 6, and so they obviously have more than 6, and so when we do the zone change to R3, now they'd be legally non-conforming, but the code says if you want to have over 6, you need an SUP. So that's why this is kind of a corrective action to offset the new change. So, staff is coordinated with the fire department on this. We're running specific use permits to the fire department just to make sure that there aren't any things that they're aware of, issues before we take a zoning action on it, and they're familiar with this facility. They didn't have any concerns with it, and so all the same conditions that staff was recommending and comfortable with on the zone change exist for the SUP. So have no concerns with this, and staff recommends approval. The zoning commission also recommended unanimous approval on the 25th.
Okay. Is there a maximum number of children that they can have under the SUP?
Not zoning. The limitations on children in this case are just going to be governed by building code, fire code, making sure people are able to self-rescue at a certain age.
So we are not affecting Mr. Craig's childcare
No.
with this in between B2 and
No, ma'am.
R3?
No, ma'am. We're just simply
sure.
creating the situation so they may have as many kids there as parking and all those different factors.
Very
permit.
good. I'm glad. Okay, anyone else? Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
So it's just kind of ironic that we have to do it like that, but it will only apply, the SUP will only apply to the church and the daycare, or to the daycare and not to somebody that comes in the future.
The SUP will apply to the property. So any kind of SUP that always runs with the land. So you're allowed to have more than one use on a piece of property.
It'll be specific to the daycare?
So the SUP runs with the land and it facilitates that specific daycare. So they can expand if they want to. So say the Lutheran church were to leave and a new church came in and that daycare left with the Lutheran church to a new location, another daycare could come in and kind of coexist on that property with that church because they have zoning that allows for a church, and in the SUP is supplemental, so it allows for this additional use on the property. They'll have to have two COs, two certificates of occupancy, but.
Okay, but that's my question was that it applies to the daycare and not to other things. If they were going to build something else, it would.
Yes, ma'am, I understand your question. So the specific use permit is just for a child care facility.
Okay.
That's it. So they're not getting a specific use permit for anything else, just that additional use.
Okay, very good. There's no public hearing on this. Was there any other questions or comments from my colleagues?
It says there's a public hearing.
Well,
There is a public.
where is that? Oh, there it is. I didn't see it. I always, what do you call it? Put a little box around it, and I didn't see that, because it was public and then hearing. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate you pointing that out to me. So we do have a public hearing. So if anyone would like to weigh in on this particular SUP request, I'll open the public hearing at 8:55 on December the 3rd. And is there any citizen or guest that would like to comment? Okay. Seeing no one, then we'll close the public hearing at 8:55. And again, we will approve this at the second reading on December 17th, 2019. All right. Moving then to agenda item number 9.7. Ms. Alcacer and Mr. Huddy, y'all still want to go into executive session at this point? Or I know we're short a council member. I just wanted to be sure.
I do, Mayor, because I thought something was going to come out of it, and it came, but it was a little too late to be on it, so I wanted it to be discussed. We do, and we have access to it now.
Oh, okay. Let me read it. The City Council shall meet in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, entitled Consultation with Attorney to consult on a matter in which the duty of the city attorney under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas conflicts with the Texas Government Code chapter, to wit, the application of ordinance number 2019-48 and public meeting decorum. And again, this was requested by Councilor Alcacer and Councilor Hody. So at this time, it is 8:56. There we go. I got the wrong side of the clock. We will move to executive session, and we do still have, after we reconvene, a citizens to be heard. So if you wanted to stay, we will hear from you after we get back from executive session. But if not, be safe, and we'll see you on the 17th. All right, so we'll move to executive session at this time. Thank you. Okay, we are back. Agenda number 9.8, reconvene into regular session and take action on issues discussed in executive session. It's now 9:34 on December the 3rd, and there is no action from executive session. So moving then to agenda item 9.10, citizens to be heard. We have 3 diehards left in the chambers. Would y'all like to say anything this evening before we adjourn? Okay. Seeing no one, then we'll move to adjourn at 9:34 on Tuesday, December 3rd, and we will see you at the next City Council meeting, which is December 17th. Take care. Bye-bye.